oil lamp. I would like to invite the following dignitaries. Honorable Secretary to the Ministry of Education Reforms, Dr. Upali Sedere. Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Education Reforms, Mr. Neil Gunadasa. Additional Secretary, Non-State Higher Education Division Ministry of Education, Ms. Mangala Jayawardena. Chairman of the ICTA, Mr. Oshada Senanayake. Vice Chairman of the Vocational Training Authority, Mr. Mahesh Arya Ratna. Chairman of the Federation of IT Industry, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Famous author and scholar David Wallach once said, "We need technology in every classroom and in every student and teacher's hand because it is the pen and paper of our time and it is in the lens through which we experience much of our world." Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of the Federation of IT Industry for the inaugural Education Forum 2022, organized by the Education and Training Chapter of FITIS, the Federation of IT Industry. My name is Shehan and I am the Chief Executive Officer of FITIS. And I want to thank you for being here this evening despite the many challenges, right? We are on the brink of a long weekend. There are queues at petrol sheds. Thank you so much for braving all that and being here this evening. We really appreciate on behalf of the Federation of IT Industry. Right, to kickstart off our forum for this evening, I would first like to invite the main brain behind this all, Mr. Vajira Karunaratne. He's the president of the FITIS Education and Training Chapter. Let me give a brief introduction to Vajira before I invite him to the podium. Vajira was in the fashion industry, flying high, winning local and international awards in Sri Lanka and abroad. He then joined IT and IT education sector and has completed 14 years now in the sector. He currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of AIMS campus. Vajira has been serving FITIS diligently over the last decade, serving the industry in various capacities. He currently serves as the president of the FITIS Education and Training Chapter and is also the chairman of this event, the FITIS Education Forum 2022. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Vajira Karunaratne to welcome you all.
Thanks all. A very good evening to all of you. Honorable Secretary to Minister of Education Reforms, Dr. Upali Sedere, Additional Secretary to Minister of Education Reforms, Mr. Neil Gunadasa, Chairman ICTA, Mr. Oshada Senanayake, Deputy Director General TVEC, Dr. J.A.D.J. Jayalath, Chairman FITIS, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, all directors and deputy directors from ICTA, Minister of Education, Non-State Higher Education Division, Minister of Skills Development and Vocational Training, TVEC and VTA. All invitees from private sector education institutes, past chairmen, past presidents, all chapter presidents of FITIS, FITIS Education and Training Chapter Executive Committee and members, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Federation of IT Industry Sri Lanka, I would like to welcome you all for the inaugural FITIS Education Forum 2022, organized by FITIS Education and Training Chapter. It's indeed a great day for all Education and Training Chapter members to organize this event, to bring all state and private sector educators to one platform to discuss the future of education in Sri Lanka. The theme of Education Forum 2022 is identifying and responding to emerging challenges in education, teaching and training to build a highly skilled future workforce. The key objectives of this forum: engagement ICT education industry into single forum, act as a think tank for ICT education sector development, platform to disseminate information of state sector and industry educational developments, capacity building towards building highly skilled professionals to industry, to create a platform for the state and private sector educators to share thoughts and work together to enhance quality standards of education and skills development. Education has been defined as the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, beliefs, habits, and personal development. There have been discussion over the benefits of a skills-based educational approach as opposed to knowledge-based education. And with the rapid development in new technology, making enormous changes of our society, it's difficult to predict the future of employment. So there is an increasing demand for a skills-based education where youth will be equipped with the skills they need to navigate in a challenging world and changing world. Knowledge and skills are both essential foundations for an effective education system that challenges and guides students to achieve their potentials. The knowledge gives students a foundation for their learning, and developing skills will help them to use their knowledge effectively. Present employee expectations are skills and characteristics such as creativity, originality, and initiative, analytical thinking, innovation, complex problem solving, critical thinking, and analysis skills, other than the knowledge. Educators should identify current and future requirements of the industry and offer education to fulfill the requirement of the industry to minimize the skills gap. It's really important to provide proper career guidance for students from year 8, 9 to identify their career paths subjects they should select to follow from O-level to higher studies, and how to develop their skills. This education forum was launched to bring all the education sectors to one platform to identify the contribution of each sector to improve the quality standards of education and to improve the skills levels of the youth, to build a highly skilled future workforce to the nation. Also, how the private sector educators can contribute to achieve these goals. I would like to give a brief introduction to FITIS and FITIS Education Training Chapter. The Federation of Information Technology Industry Sri Lanka was set up in 1996 with the purpose of giving a much needed focal point for ICT industry in Sri Lanka. Today, FITIS is the apex body of the ICT industry in the country, covering all major industry segments. We have the hardware chapter, software chapter, education and training chapter, communication chapter, digital services chapter, professional chapter, office automation chapter, and professional consultant chapters. Mandate of FITIS Education and Training Chapter is this mandate to drive and to lead the digital transformation and the digital education in Sri Lanka, and to make Sri Lanka a digital nation. And we have done this is our EXCO members in 2021-22 period. And these are the members, current members of FITIS Education Chapter. And these are the activities actually we have done during the year 2020, 21 and 22. We have done many webinars, and we have attended many meetings with the Minister of Education, Higher Education, VTA, and NITA to discuss the IT education. And we have networking sessions, regular networking sessions to discuss the issues and matters related to education development. And we have been doing career guidance seminars since 2014 at Infotel exhibition, bringing 5,000 to 6,000 students and teachers. And it was very successful, and all the students and teachers have enjoyed the career guidance program there. And we launched the FITIS Youth Club in 2015. And we are doing a lot of activities and career guidance programs through the FITIS Youth Club. And these are the webinars we did with EDB to promote the Study in Sri Lanka program. And it was also, we had meetings with about 15 ambassadors, Sri Lankan embassies. So this FITIS Education and Training Chapter is highly involved in many activities to develop the IT education in Sri Lanka. I would like to invite all the education institutes to join FITIS Education and Training Chapter to work together to achieve the set goals and gain many benefits by becoming a member of FITIS. Once again, I would like to welcome you to the Education Forum 2022. Hope you will enjoy the event and hope it will be a productive event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vajira. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Vajira Karunaratne, President of the Education and Training Chapter of FITIS. Next, I would like to invite our chairman Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe for his address. But before that, I would like to give a brief introduction to Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe. Dr. Prasad serves as the chairman of FITIS for the year 2021-22. He has a proven track record of strategic leadership, direction, and planning for large organizations, and is highly experienced in seizing opportunities, building operations, leading successful new business development initiatives and ventures. He is the managing director of Lanka Bell Private Limited, Bell Vantage Private Limited, and Bell Solutions Private Limited, while he is also a director of Haley's Fiber PLC, serving in his board from 2017, and represents the boards of Hatton National Bank, HNB Assurance PLC, and HMB General Insurance as an alternate director. Dr. Samarasinghe holds a doctorate in telecommunications bestowed upon him by the Australian National University of Canberra, and a Master of Engineering and Bachelor of Science degree in Electronics and Telecommunications with a first class from the University of Moderator. He is a board director of TRACE, ICTA and Engineering Faculty Board, University of Moderator, while he is also a council member of CSSL and BCS. So, Dr. Prasad, over to you.
Thank you, Shahan. Dr. Sedere, the State Secretary to the Ministry of Education Reform, Mr. Oshada Senanayake, Chairman ICTA, special invitees, the today panel members, the past chairmen, the board directors of FITIS, all the invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I think today is a great day for us. It's a time for us to take from our busy schedule to put into this education. The similar kind of thing I can still recall with Dr. Sedere, we had one-day sessions. So these are the good thing and positive thinking. Why not to take our time and to take this country forward, where it went wrong, what else we should do. The drive in this country is our responsibility. Identify the problems, to take this country forward is our responsibility. If individuals are thinking, or if I think my part, if I do my part correctly, the same way if everybody is trying to edit, certainly this country will not go wrong. We have a bit good time, bad time. I think that is applicable to everybody's life, applicable to every business, applicable to country as well. So let's take any situation and try our best to think positively and drive this country. But I just want to take the three things, but I plan to talk about the FITIS and the objectives, but because of Vajira covered it, I'll drop that. I'll give you three key points to you all to debate at the today's discussion point. The first point is about this university students. Everybody is aware. So almost 50% of the university graduates are art. And I'm sure everybody inside here will agree, the caliber, the quality art graduate has, will never be able to do it. Will never be able to challenge it. The way the creativity they have, say, I don't think we can challenge it. And today's era, having an art degree, why not to add additional module, maybe UI UX design? That is my first point. So we are talking about always conversion program and talking about who graduated from this university to convert into that. That is good idea. In addition to that, my recommendation, why not to talk to all the universities who are doing art? Why not to add at least, I know we can debate this a lot more, and just a key idea of UX UI design. Why I am saying, the guy who was with us and the engineering faculty, and he has superb art faculty or the features. Whatever he has seen, he draw nice pictures. He has done a lot of newsletters. So we were talking about why he came to engineering faculty to do things. Today, if you are using Microsoft, and there's a lot of screens designed by him. Even though those things are not visible one to one, whenever we talk to him, we understand it. Those are the Sri Lankan talent taking out. Even though he's an engineering graduate, he's doing a more UI UX design. I'm sure he's not using real engineering talent, but he may have used that to enter into Microsoft, but today he's using his art talent. So how many that kind of art graduates we have? How many are going to come in? How many youth we have that kind of talent? Why not to add that kind of module to same university IT faculty is next door? Why not to add few modules so that the future is addressed? Then we'll talk about the past, that is the conversion program. That is my first thing. The second one is after COVID and the before COVID. Before COVID, definitely, whenever somebody is talking about the numbers, I still recall my year, 89 A-level, the Moderator University 250 increased to 350. It was a big ha-hoo inside the university, no labs, no lecturers, no this, no that. And all these things, instead of thinking about the accepting that, and the more and more rejection we have seen. But ultimately, every year that pressure was there. Today is a big number. And during COVID, if you take the pure IT degree, whether they were on the lab, have they visited any labs? Finally, some students graduated also. That means, if you take some universities, I know 500 IT graduates, maybe visit labs very, very minimal. That 500 into maybe 1,000 times, is that a big issue? But the students wants the connectivity and the access and maybe whatever related software. Why not to increase it? And the increasing will have a problem on supply increase. But think about the today's demand. Any other industry is asking, their industry requirement is 250,000. That is ICT industry. The supply is 170,000. Today's the gap is 80,000. Even though before the COVID, we didn't realize that. Before the COVID and after the COVID, the salary scale went double. I'm sure most of you are aware. That means the huge gap between demand and supply. Why not to talk about all the A-level pass students to have an IT degree in that sense, but to have the good quality. But just because of we are giving a degree, we should not drop the quality. We have to keep the momentum on quality. I'm sure that today's discussion, you all will discuss much more. I just want to plant it. Let's start from somewhere. All the A-level pass students should have a university to go. We should not give up that. Everybody has right to study, right to get the degree. Whether it is a private or public, I don't have a problem, as long as they get the correct degree and the correct quality, so that we are building a real workforce in this country. That is the real solution to today's all the problems. If you take the problem, if you analyze and just put this as answer, surely we can find it. But it will be good for short term, may not be good long term. Certainly we have to adjust it. It may not be a UI UX, may not be a latest program. The programs will change. The system will change, but we have to have the dynamically changed system to address the market need. By doing that, we'll be able to build, the Sri Lanka is a 20 million. Say, compare India. The 20 million is increased every year. Just imagine somebody is solving Indian problem. And what is Sri Lanka? Is increase every year is equivalent to Sri Lankan population. Why are we talking about? Why we can't do it? Currently, even though we talk about the 250,000, the requirement, surely after COVID or the current situation, the demand is much more. The people realize in the countries they are working from home and they are working from Sri Lanka, no big difference. But you can pay maybe half, but still a very high salary compared to Sri Lanka. Let's have a discussion today and to drive it, and whatever the actions we work together and drive it and push it. At least some percentage we should be able to achieve it. My third point is very interesting. 40 years ago, the nice gentleman started Mahapala Fund. I personally enjoy that. I realized those days I got 1,050 rupees. 1,050 rupees, it was a huge thing for us. But today, the same Mahapala. Fund is almost 10 billion something, and asking money from sometime the budget or the budget funding and put into that, and giving from that in interest income, giving to little more people. Why not to copy what is available in the world and whatever the good thing? The good example I can raise it, the Australia. They have a HELP is a program, higher education loan program. They have a sub-program called HECS, Higher Education Contributory Scheme. Anybody, any Australian citizen, even though my kids are Sri Lankan and dual, they get the same facility. That's very simple. They can go to university, they can learn any degree. Even they can do double degree, there's no issue. What will happen? That loan is interest-free loan. They get the money, they know how much they have to pay. They can log into their system, eGov, they can see how much they have to pay to the government. Whether the government is going to take then and there? No. When they earn money more than 46,600 per year, Australian dollars, the government start taking money from them. Today I got the Mahapala, I am happy to give it back to Mahapala. Why not to have that system to take it back? Then the Mahapala fund will increase like nothing. Then by doing that, my second point is why not to give education to everybody so that that money can be used to promote and cover the cost of the education. Why not to talk about it? So wherever I see the opportunity, I talk about this Mahapala. But somehow I couldn't reach it. I am sure our Dr. Sedere will take that into mind and do something. But I am happy to volunteer and do anything. And for that. But it's not something, yes, when I mentioned to one director, accidentally I met him at the Mahapala Fund. I am not sure whether he is there today or not. He is asking me to pay. Say, me to pay is not an issue. What we are referring is a system to have. So that everybody knows that they can get the loan, they can learn, and they can pay it back whenever right time comes. And that will solve some sort of problem on even the brain drain. Even though they are going out, they will pay back their cost to the country and go. But there are indirect benefit to the country if we can put it. I am not talking about even the same Mahapala fund. Let's create a different fund and drive it so that that can cover even the course fees and the day-to-day fees. Anybody will be able to enjoy the education and drive and take that knowledge and give back to the country. At the same time, that fund will expand a lot more. By doing that, we can support the new generation, next generation. These are the 3 points. I can keep on talking, but the challenge is actually execution. We have very good discussion points, very good things. Have we followed it up? Have we done it? Have we seen the results? That is where I am coming from actually. Even the FITIS, always we try to do something, the results. I am sure everybody here, taking your time and came here, let's take 1 or 2 points from the today's event and agreed, and surely Vajira and the team will take this forward and drive it. And this is our country. Let's take this forward. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to invite a very dynamic personality for his address. That is Mr. Oshada Senanayake, the chairman of the Information and Communication Technology Agency, ICTA. And I would, before that, I would like to give a brief introduction to Mr. Senanayake. He is a former Director General of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, pioneering key initiatives such as the Gamata Sannivedana Connect Sri Lanka project with an objective of enabling Sri Lanka with 100% 4G and fiber coverage, as well as initiating the introduction of a number of portability and unlimited internet concept, as well as initiating 5G trials and commercialization process. He is also a board member of SLCERT, Sri Lanka's apex body for digitalization and national cyber security, respectively. Oshada previously headed multiple startup ventures, which included a diversified portfolio which focused on technology and destination services with an Airbnb chain, amongst other business interests such as research on smart battery technology. Oshada Senanayake comes with a wealth of experience in previously heading Pixel, a premier IT solution and digital services company in Sri Lanka, engaged by a majority of blue chips in the country in driving forward its digital strategies. Oshada was also instrumental in the eventual merger of the organization with Tavistock Group, a global private investment entity. Oshada has extensive knowledge in acquiring and working with Fortune 100 clientele in the IT front in the US and Europe, bringing in a blend of technology expertise as well as industry insights in growing organizations from startups to mature businesses. Oshada was also invited by the International Telecommunication Union and represented Sri Lanka as a panelist and presenter at the 50th anniversary ITU Digital World Ministerial Roundtable session in 2021, as well as being invited as a panelist for the 22nd meeting of the South Asian Telecommunication Regulators Council. Oshada is also a visiting lecturer for the University of Bedfordshire at the Oxford School of Business for postgraduate MBA students, and shares his knowledge in areas of strategic management, digital marketing, and IT governance. Beyond his professional life, Oshada is passionate on giving back to the community and is a founding member of the Senera Sisusavia Foundation, providing educational assistance to children from rural areas with continuous long-term assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, before Mr. Senanayake comes for his address, I would like to invite Mr. Oshada Senanayake as well as Mr. Sameera Jayawardena, Director Capacity Building of ICTA, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, Chairman of FITIS, Mr. Vajira Karunaratne, President of the Education and Training Chapter, Mr. Amila Bandara, Vice President of Education and Training Chapter, for a symbolic exchanging of the ICTA FITIS MOU document, which I think Sameera will elaborate on as we go along. So we would like to invite the dignitaries for this symbolic exchange. So now I would like to invite Mr. Oshada Senanayake, Chairman of the ICTA, to address the gathering.
Dr. Upali Sedere, Secretary to the State Ministry of Education Reforms, Open Universities and Distance Learning. Mr. Neil Gunadasa, Additional Secretary of the same entity. Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, President of the FITIS, as well as Vajira Karunaratne, President of the Education Chapter. And ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great pleasure to be here today. But more importantly, I think the CEO of FITIS, Shehan, was quite kind enough to elaborate that it was just a queue that he saw and we had as a challenge. But I have a very interesting adage today that I want to really articulate. It's no secret that the country is going through one of the most enormous challenges we've ever faced, I believe, potentially after the war. that we've completed. And I think there's a huge responsibility for the ICT industry, where I personally believe Sri Lanka's revival out of this quagmire would be potentially on how best we pivot on technology and digital transformation. And I'll explain why in a moment. Our vision as a country 2 years back, I would like to go back and revisit that, was a digitally inclusive Sri Lanka fueled by a digital economy and a smart society. Now, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe mentioned how important the connectivity piece is. If you look at the digital inclusivity, there are key three tenets. We cannot achieve a digital inclusivity without achieving connectivity, digital skills, and accessibility to technology. And hence the reason that we initiated the Government Sannivedana program 2 years back, 2.5 years back, to ensure that we have the basic connectivity to ensure that we can capacitate and orchestrate all of these digital transformation. And we would have been able to do that without getting the connectivity piece right. Now we all know, as much as the challenge today we have, not only the fuel, but also the gas, but also all of the other things and the power. 2 years back, our challenge was data. 2020 April, when the country went in for the first time to a lockdown, our challenge was an overnight 4.2 million of our student base coming to grips with studying from home. The complete public sector and the private sector coming to grips with the concept of working from home. In fact, not a lot of people know there was an increase of 44%, which Dr. Prasad will confirm, from the telco sector, a 44% increase in terms of demand for data. That was a huge challenge. All what we did at TRC and the telco sector was literally trying to pass through all of the engineers across Sri Lanka to try to ensure that the base stations doesn't fall and the internet doesn't crash. It was, Dr. Prasad, I'm sure you'll agree, was a huge challenge. Then the question was the affordability. The affordability was a huge issue because we have been paying for telco services 49.7%. I don't know whether you all remember, a couple of years back, or 3-4 years back, we were paying almost 50% for our services. Today, with some pragmatic tax decisions, we managed to ensure for the first time in history, today, the media doesn't talk about these things, unfortunately, but as per the latest International Telecommunication Union report, we are the 20th cheapest in the world for fixed broadband. And if you think that's good enough, we are the 8th cheapest for mobile broadband. And in fact, there are 17.8 million mobile broadband connections in Sri Lanka. Start of 2020, we only had 12.8 million broadband connections, mobile broadband connections. Today, it's increased by 5 million. We had about fiber to FTTH plus ADSS connections. We had only 1.8 million connections. Today, we have 2.6 million connections. So my fact of the matter is, if we don't address these key aspects, we are not going to go forward as a country. And forever, it's going to just be a vision that we've been hearing over and over from consecutive governments. Now, today the challenge is, how do we move forward to that digital inclusivity? Fine, let's put a tick on that. But then hopefully the Government of Sannivedana continues through and the telco sector doesn't increase its rates. Fingers crossed. But the second issue is the digital economy piece. So we are never going to end up, whether we go to IMF or not or whatever, I don't see a long-term way forward from a strategic point unless we pivot on technology and getting this digital economy piece right. And that's where this forum is absolutely important today. And in fact, I'm very thankful, Dr. Prasad and Vajira, for setting this up, where I want to articulate how important it is today, where the ICT education plays a pivotal role, maybe a defining role in terms of our exit as a country and getting out of this issue. The digital economy piece, as you all know, we have this ambitious $5 billion target for the ICT industry. $5 billion, we've been talking forever and ever again. We've been talking as industry bodies, we've been talking as the ICTA, we've been talking as governments, but where is that $5 billion? So 2 years back again, we revised, we understood we cannot hit the $5 billion because there's no way we can hit that without looking at the capacity planning. We need to have a skill set, a workforce that matches and drives us to that $5 billion. So hence the reason we reduced it to 3 billion. For the first time, the country reduced that target. But while reducing that, we set a target for ourselves of 300,000 ICT workforce by 2024. Now today, as Dr. Prasad again said, we are at about 175,000. That's the total space, the total cohort of ICT, BPM and all of that putting. But how many of that percentage is contributing to the IT export market. Today, per year, we have 9,000 graduates coming out. How much of those graduates are usable? Today, my team, headed by Sameera and Naminders and all of the likes, our challenge is to figure out why cannot that 9,000 be utilized. The real fact of the matter is we cannot use most of that 9,000. These are hard facts, and I'm upfront telling you all this. Some of them doesn't have the skill sets that we require as the industry. Some of them doesn't have the communication piece. So how do we bridge that gap? And still, as again articulated by Dr. Prasad, our demand is about 21,000 to 20,000 people per year. And we get 1/3. Out of that 1/3, the usable cohort is less than 50%. These are ground facts, realities. And I'm coming from the industry, I'm being very upfront with this. And there's no point us talking about numbers if we don't have a skill set that can go ahead, where when these international big techs come in, they interview, if they are not employable, we are back at square one. And I'll explain how serious this situation is. Just 3 weeks back, I had a 32,000-seater big tech coming into Sri Lanka. The demand was 10,000 full stack developers on the first year. I repeat, 10,000 full stack developers. Now imagine if we had the 10,000, the amount of dollars we can bring in. Now today, forget the 10,000 because I had to ensure that I somehow manage the situation, and I said 1,000. I will try to give 1,000 per year. And in my heart knows that even 1,000 is a really, really daunting task. So where do we go from? Imagine the opportunity cost. Every month, every day we lose this opportunity. Number one, we are losing potential revenue to the country. Number two, as much as like a product which is not there on a shelf within a supermarket, consumers are not going to wait. They are going to go and shift to another product. And this is exactly what's going to happen to the country. They are going to shift to other destinations that can offer the same quality of resources at better rate potentially. So these are real facts that we need to really get going. And that's why, hence the reason what I'm really repeating, we need to get this capacity planning and capacity development right. So that 300,000 is just a mere dream and just another talk. And again, by 2024, we'll again be discussing the fact that we are not at 300,000. Maybe we'll take another 3 years and say, still we are trying to achieve 300,000. And hence the reason that I urge you today, this important audience, where you all are heading the ICT education, of course, some other aspects of education as well. Please be part of this. We really, really need you all to step up, and we can assure from our end, we will support it 100% through the likes of FITIS, for example, a very important industry body for us. For us, it's important that we engage together and ensure that we have harmonization on what the industry requires, what the job sets requires. I don't think the industry is anymore interested on the old stack of developers. Today, we are talking about full stack developers. We are talking about developers who are proficient in microservices, for example. We are talking about developers coming in and ensuring that they know the latest trends of blockchain development. We are talking about Python programming. I mean, Python programming 3 to 4 weeks back was just the most used development platform across the world. Now, I just met a Sri Lankan ICT company across another forum that said they are searching for 20 Python programmers for the last 6 months. And guess what? How much they found? 1 Python developer. And these are fantastic brands. They have no brand issue. Even this company has pegged the salaries on dollars, for example. And still they can't find. So again, opportunity cost. So it's very clear that we've ensured visibility of the country. That point that we've got it ticked. There are big techs looking at us. There are small SMEs looking at us in terms of capacitating and setting up operations in Sri Lanka. But we cannot continue to move on the situation of not having resources. So number one, again, I urge as ICTA, what we are doing right now is we are cutting across multiple programs. Just the last 3-4 weeks, we started this concept of boot camps. We started the first one in Heiyantudua, and then we were in Eraminiyaya last weekend. The quality of that segments are fantastic. In fact, one girl that I met, a 23-year-old in Heiyantudua about 4 weeks back, when I had a conversation, she said she came in 4 buses from Badulla. And she has been going through the Python programming course that we did. It's a resident program. and the digital marketing course. So imagine if you can capacitate this sort of youngsters. There's another youngster who came and said, sir, I'm doing security and networking. I don't need a payment. Can I have a chance at ICTA to get this experience? I think Sameera was there. We literally got mobbed there. So I think we owe it to this generation to ensure that we take it through. So my request is, I don't think we can have a knee-jerk reaction just like we had at this financial situation, right? Again, we'll be at the same situation as the industry where we cannot hit our targets of the 3 billion. So my request is again, Dr. Sedere, I think we can't just start on just conversions only now. We have to start from grade 1. Unfortunately, the education system starts with ICT, I think, in grade 6. We cannot do that. The Colombo schools, already the kids from grade 2 are basically being capacitated on microbit programming. They have access to ICT. But then again, what about the other schools? And hence the reason today, as much as we fiberize all the schools, we need to ensure that we have this curriculum updated, for example. The universities has to relook at the curriculum also. We need to look at this new trends coming into the curricula. We have to look at that full stack angle. We have to look at also the transformation. Now the transformation is very important, as Dr. Prasad again said. We can look at the arts grads, for example, to look at the UI UX engineers. These are more sought after UI UX experience. In fact, today, there's a local Sri Lankan UI UX engineer working for GovTech Singapore, driving the Smart Singapore agenda. And in fact, we got him down to meet the ICTA team and share and part the knowledge. So we have some fantastic talent. And that boy that we met after so many years came from Anuradhapura and worked for me 10 years back. I mean, we are all proud of a Sri Lankan working for GovTech Singapore, but then again, we don't have the chance of utilizing him here. So my request again is to ensure we all get together and really understand the grassroots situation over here, and we work in capacitating this. And it's very important, as the likes of the education delivery partners that all of you all are, please let's work together and ensure that we align this curriculum, we align the courses, and we will give complete support. In fact, today we just discussed just yesterday getting Coursera onboarded and getting the content out there. A perfect example again is open.um.lk that was launched by Katubed University just 3 weeks back. Statistics up to yesterday, in fact March 14th, there are 35,000 signups. Out of that, 34,000 has already enrolled both on the Python program and the web design program. 18,000 for Python programming and another 7,000 on the web design. The most interesting fact, already within these 2 weeks, 200 has completed the Python course. Real stats out of the dashboard. And another 100 has completed the web design. So what I am urging is, let's get together, and I believe we have a serious responsibility as the ICT industry. And honestly, personally, this is my personal view, not ICT, is I believe the only exit for Sri Lanka and revival is the ICT industry. With all due respect for all the other export industries, we are the 5th today. Out of the brand source statistics for the last year, I think out of the top 20 exports, we had 5 ICT companies. So I think this is where we need to focus on. And I think if we don't get together right now, I think it's going to be really, really bleak. And we are going to lose the people that we already have in Sri Lanka, having still faith on driving this forward. So again, it's an opportune moment. Vajira and Dr. Prasad, thank you for setting up this forum. And I believe that we can use this as a catalyzing effect to get together and harmonize and drive this agenda forward to ensure that we can look at that future digital economy that can come into play to at least set Sri Lanka apart from the other countries. Of course, other things are happening. We have the technoparks coming up. We have 5 technoparks coming up. We've got as I said, the connectivity piece hopefully right. The telco industry is fully committed to that, and I can assure you that. The TRZ is as well. But at the end of the day, right now, the make or break is the human capacities. And I am confident that with this momentum that we are creating of these likes of these environments and these forums, I think we can address that. So again, thank you so much for organizing this and inviting me as well, and look forward to collaborating and connecting with you all on driving Sri Lanka hopefully forward to a revival through the ICT industry. Thank you so much.
So the ICT industry of the country is available to assist in the government's goal of reaching $3 billion in industry-related export revenue. The ICT agency, or better known as ICTA, recognizes that it is vital to reskill and upskill the youth of Sri Lanka to meaningfully contribute back to the country by using the skills and knowledge gained through ICT. ICTA strongly believes that strong policies, strategies, and strategic initiatives create an enabling environment that is critical in sustaining the development of Sri Lanka. Through the concentrated efforts funneled through the projects, which are reimagined through the digital education team of the capacity building thrust area, it is expected to pursue the goal of enabling anywhere, anytime learning to all. We facilitate and contribute to the development of comprehensive national level strategies and initiatives to support digital education transformation. Also, by creating a smart education environment for teaching and learning for all K-12, vocational and higher education, ICTA will transform the methods of education, transforming educators and learners to become effective facilitators and consumers in smart education environment is also in line with ICTA's goals. Developing the National Skills Platform is another major task undertaken by ICTA, a system technology for inclusion, interactive network among educators and industry, and the conversion of non-ICT graduates will also be among ICTA's priorities. ICTA will also conduct an Information Technology and Business Process Management survey or an IT BPM workforce survey to extract the latest updates related to the field. So, let's be a part of the change towards a skilled, employable workforce, while pushing the boundaries in digital education and achieving the national goal.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, next we have a very senior personality of the industry to deliver his address. I would like to introduce Dr. Upali Sedere, Secretary of the State Ministry of Educational Reforms. Dr. Upali has been helping governments and NGOs to develop education systems to successfully address the current issues to ensure the children of the deprived are brought on board to pave a better future for them. His specialties include program management and implementation, education sector policy formulation and assessment, education sector program development, planning, monitoring and evaluation, program coordination and program quality improvement. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Upali Sedere, Secretary to the State Ministry of Education Reforms, to the podium.
Good evening to all of you. Dr. Prasad, Mr. Vajira, Mr. Senanayake, and our Sameera Jayawardena, and my colleague G.M.Niel Gunadasa, and distinguished gathering. Actually, though I was introduced like that, I was a bit shaken because I don't think I have so much to contribute when I listen to Oshada and Prasad. There are people in the industry who knows the industry from in and out. I can speak to you a few things about, we are in the agenda of reforming the present education. And how you want to put it up? I'm too short, huh? I know, podium is I am told, yeah. Anyway, let's take it. So what was said and done, the reforms, I just came here after addressing another public gathering at public library this evening. The interest on educational reforms is very high. Our fear is that, implementation of reforms. When Prasad said that we are into skills, certainly yes. This education that we have today is a system where people have to just cram things, keep it in memory, and then the question papers ask the same thing again, what the teacher taught, and then they repeat it, then you get your A's and B's. That's no education. Actually, education means actually taking the children's talent outside. From inside to take it out. What we are doing is actually filling the vessel, thinking that, that is education. So it's totally a wrong process. Examinations have ruined our educational culture that we had, because everyone is behind to pass the exams, because that exams are not very meaningful either. So what we are trying to do is actually create that learning is a process. This process, when Prasad said, I could have even demonstrated to you, I have the pen drive in my pocket. I could have shown you one small slide, if you don't mind, if somebody can put it on. Because education becomes English edited. Because what I want you to understand is, from even a 2-year child has this analytical mind. What happens is the education system, formal education system, gradually destroys it actually. Because we put the teacher in front and stop students' thinking process and try to tailor-make that student to the way that we want. Actually, the creativity never grows as a result. Can I help you? What I wanted to show is that you see the cognitive domain. We talk of 3 domains in education: the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. The cognitive domain earlier, before 1990s, we were thinking in a different way. Today, pull on the gun. Pull on the gun. You want me to help you? Educational reforms. Reforms is the folder, and March 16 presentation is the other title. English one. There is a Sinhala one in English. Put the English one. So the process is that I was just showing that slide. I will also analyze it. Today what we are doing is learning facts. Mostly in our school education, what we are doing is learning facts. And then those facts are actually, I'm not saying that is not necessary. It is needed, but it is actually gives you a very low order thinking in the child. It does not go to the next step, where the higher order thinking is what we need to analyze situations, and that is where the skills becomes very important, because we are in the 21st century, already 20 years gone. We are also talking about the 4th industrial revolution. What are the, right, අනේ කියන්න අර පහළට යන්න මම හිතන්නේ 16th වගේ ස්ලයිඩ් එකක් ඇති අර මේ ලොකු ඩයග්‍රෑම් එකක් තියෙනවා. තව යන්න පහළට යන්න. පහළට යන්න. Further down, lot down. Further down. තව පහළට යන්න. Further. I can move it from here. මේක මාක් වෙන්නේ නේද? Oh, all right. This is the diagram I want to show you. Now, this is the new vision of the cognitive domain that we are working on. Sri Lanka still so far prepared textbooks all in the old version. This is the version actually came in 2001. This actually addresses some of the issues that we are facing. Now you see there are 3 dimensions. One is the knowledge dimension, the cognitive process dimension, but the peak of that is the creativity. What we want is a creative society. Now to do that, actually that is where knowledge has to be used. That is what we call skills. Skill starts there. Now, a lot of people can think that is, of course, it has to happen in the university or at A level. It's not. I'm just talking about even a 2-year, 3-year-old child. I will just give a small example. You bring a toy and give it to your son or a daughter. What they do, they say you gave a toy car. Fellow will just take it and go at a stool or something and keep it and then bend his head and he'll just start going up and down, looking at it. He is using his basic knowledge. What happens then? If you don't have the skills, what is important in cognitive is generating ideas. Your child starts generating ideas as he was playing with the toy. What happens next? We all as parents, we know, next time when you come, he has deconstructed the toy, he has broken the toy, he has taken pieces out. Now, for an ordinary mother or a father, he is a destroyer. But actually, this is the child's curiosity to learn and acquire skills. What he has done is, his cognitive domain, he was very active thinking. He generated a lot of ideas. Now he wants to see what is happening inside, how he's going up and down like that. So he wants to see that. He opens it. Unless this process goes in education means like the cramming lessons. This may not have a correct answer, but he has taken it out. Now what he happens, see, he then tries to put it back again. You can always see a child crying. When at this stage, most of the time, child becomes emotional because it's easy to take it out, but putting it back and assembling is a much more higher order skill. So this becomes difficult. Often children cry and the mother comes and then either spank or shout and take it out. If a wise parent would help the child to put it back and show how it works, and the child will understand. What is important is after that, once he assembled it, he reflects. There's a thinking process at his own level. The child may be very small, but he thinks back. What happens what really I did? What did happen? You take a small example, another one now, say Jean Piaget, the best psychologist that we know, he said that, we have natural systems in ourselves to assimilate and accommodate. Assimilate means we try to exercise our systems that we have, either cognitive systems or physical systems. We all have to exercise to make it skillful. You ask the child jumps from one step to the other. Mother gets scared, say don't jump. Does he stop? When the mother is not there, he jumps again. Until he masters that, he jumps. Next time, even if mother asks you to jump, the child said no. Okay, because now the child has acquired that. The skills are like that. What I want to say is that education has to go for skills. It's not very difficult. Because what we need is to allow the child to do. Once you give that, the child's ideas further generates and reflects, he becomes a designer. That designing is the path to, and there may be no correct answer. His design may be false. His design may be wrong. But the child has to do it. So we should not look for correct answers in our exams. Because the correct answer is just a temporary thing. What they want is then, that is where people innovate and that is how people create. So this is the education process that we want to create. What we call here is actually, this is called metacognition. The child should be able to reflect and grow with that. Always reflection helps you to win. You do something, you are tired and you see that it is not working, but you leave it and go. Even in your dream, sometimes you see that you know how you sell it because your metacognition works. You are reflecting back. Very often, I know that I had been struggling with some formula from some time when I was doing my PhD. And then all of a sudden, I was shaving. And it struck me, no, you can do it this way. And I stopped shaving. I came and wrote the formula on the paper because next moment you can even forget it. And it was correct. That's the formula that worked for you to assess the standard error of certain coefficients. I have drawn standard error terms for 5 coefficients in reliability theory. And that is how you see even in sleep it happens. So this cognitive process is never allowed in our education, because what we do is give a lot of notes and by heart, and then you ask the child to repeat it. So this is how creativity goes. Now what we have today is this: what we have, do lower order thinking, only knowledge and understanding. What we want is high order thinking. This is another important concept that I got it off what? Now this is called in education explicit knowledge. What do you mean by explicit knowledge? Means the knowledge that is already known. Knowledge it is already explained in books is called explicit knowledge. This is all in what you get in our universities and our schools. What the world is needing implicit knowledge. Knowledge not found. That has to come through experience only. You sometimes come up with ideas. You yourself do not know whether it is correct, but you try it out. මම මේකට සිංහලෙන් කියන අනුමාන කරලා ගෙන ගන්න ඥානය කියලා. That is what you want creativity to come. We have to allow children to grow with this kind of thinking. That is what we are doing in our new education policies. Curriculum is prepared for the child to get involved and do things, not just study formula and repeat it. So this is the skills oriented. When you do that today, added facility is that you know the computer skill, digital skill. How much we can facilitate that is, I am a bit afraid to say that, because now with the present crisis in the country, I am afraid definitely, because we had plans to provide everything to schools and even to give computers. And then now, little bit of doubt in my head. At least we have 1,000 schools with, Udari knows that we have 1,000 school Mahindra labs. I think that itself is a big asset when you look at Sri Lanka, because many of those assets, the places are ready. We can prepare them further. And Mr. Neil Gunadasa, we launched about 2 weeks back. All the computer resource centers, we now named it ICT distance education hubs. 106 centers in Sri Lanka, they are ready. We have prepared them to bring teachers to train for the blended mode of learning. All that is there, and that activity perhaps can go on because we have the computers in those centers and we can manage that. But you know, the digitalization has to come, as Oshada said. If you can even have one computer in a school to demonstrate things, allow children to come and explore things at grade 1, grade 2, you know, the child is born with technology, today's child. Not like us, we are migrants to technology. No? We actually, my generation particularly, we are migrants to technology. I was lucky that I learned computer in 1973 in US. Since then, you know, from mainframe computer to what you have today, I have seen. I used to type the card stack for the main computer those days. So because I agree with it. But what we need to do is this, how we can combine these skills and the learning to the digital world. So the child can prepare the reports, child can prepare presentations, use computer. You know, the fear of technology has to get out. Now, teacher has to be reoriented, because most of the teachers don't allow the children to, even the Mahindra labs. I went to one school in Polgahavila, lab was 2 years just closed, because the principal didn't allow anybody to use it. There was no IT teacher. There were other people who knew IT, little bit, not IT degree. They were not allowed. So 2 years the computers just stayed there. So we have to take this culture away. You know, I had been telling the teachers that don't worry about the computer, just do whatever it is. Worst come to us, you shut it off, then you restart, it is back. You know, so that is, at least this kind of messages you have to give, because the society has, older generation has this fear, not the children. Now you give a mobile, I'm very happy that the numbers that you said, 17.5 million broadband connections. That's a very high number. That relieved my fear a little bit that, this is available around the country now, anywhere, that, to get to digital world, you need this connectivity. Thanks to Mr. Senanayake and also Mr. Jayalath. Actually, we have a joint committee. We are working very closely to expand the fiberization project to give fiber connections to all schools. That's the target. Already cabinet approved paper is there and we are working on it. By today, we have already given optic fiber connection as well as the LAN system to 650 schools already completed. And Sameera has helped us to give LMS, learning digital platform for learning, to over 200 schools. 222 schools we have completed. So this is the project moving towards the right goals. Let's hope that we will have the opportunity to complete it as we go. We are very hopeful because the digitalization is the answer for efficiency, effectiveness, and also for the economy. Because a digital economy is possible in Sri Lanka, though we say we can have industries, we can do that, this. More than that, our strength is the human resource. If we really develop the human resource right, Sri Lanka can survive. So this is, I don't have to say much because you all are the experts in the field. I'm not an IT person, I know IT skills, but that is just here and there what I learned. I am an educationist otherwise. So thank you very much. I enjoyed your company and I'm very glad to see the vision and the efforts this organization has made to bring digital education to everybody. Vajira and Prasad, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Upali Sedere. All right, so next we have a presentation from Mr. Sameera Jayawardena, Director Capacity Building of the ICTA. A very quick introduction to Sameera. Sameera has been a very pivotal link with the ICTA and FITIS, so we are really grateful. He specializes in project management, digital technologies, transformation, strategy and policy. He's a specialist in digital transformation and digital development, portfolio management, human resources, capacity building as well. So we would like to cordially invite Sameera for your presentation.
Thank you, Shan. So, good evening, everybody. So, Honorable Secretary, Dr. Sedere, Dr. Samarasinghe, CEO ICTA, Chairman ICTA, Mr. Oshada Senanayake, and all the colleagues. First of all, we would like to really appreciate the efforts made by the FITIS Education Chapter, led by Vajira. Actually, we have been discussing about this initiative for some time. Now, he made it a reality. So, I'll be very brief on my presentation so we can discuss more during our panel discussion. So, we are thinking about a nation towards digitally capable Sri Lanka. So, I think Dr. Sedere, Dr. Samarasinghe and our chairman already expressed the importance of capacity building and what entails. So, if you think today, so where are we standing right now? So, even if you walk out, now there's an issue. There are a lot of queues, even for fuel. Now we know there's a crisis on our economy, and we have all sorts of social, economic challenges we are facing right now. So, how are we going to exploit this as an opportunity? Maybe for us to leapfrog. Now, in theory, we say transformation and evolution in all these, implementation when it comes to digital transformation. So, the evolutionary approach and transformational approach. So, the transformation is about like make a rapid change towards positive, direction. So how are we going to do that? Now, as most of the speakers mentioned earlier, now one of the areas we can tackle here is human capital. So we believe we can use this human capital as a launching pad for us to move forward in our industrial development in terms of ICT and non-ICT. Now we talk about in digital economy about ICT industry development and also tech diffusion across non-ICT industry. So all these ICT and non-ICT industry development will eventually facilitate for us to, make revenue to the nation. So as our chairman also mentioned, this can be the main initiative or the main focus for us to be focused on in upcoming years to get on with our socio-economic development. So if I may touch little bit what we do at ICTA as the national apex arm for digital transformation. Now we know we have just finalized the strategy about like 1.5 years back with His Excellency the President and the Cabinet of Ministers on digital economy. So it says about technology-based society, the chapter 6. So the technology-based society, what is the technology-based society? That's about technology becomes general. So in transformation, we say technology becomes general, like electricity. So everybody will consume digital effectively for their day-to-day lives. So we believe to make this transformation happen, we have to make a significant transformation, positive, accelerated change towards future in education, government, and society. So that's why this capacity building is essential. So building capable people at all levels across the society. So where are we heading? Now we have clear goals defined according to the National Digital Economy Strategy. There are 5 of them associated with the capacity building. So we are talking about first goal today because other 2 are related to society and the government sector transformation. So we are thinking about, double the number, building 150,000 workforce within next 2.5 years to the industry. So these are some of the objectives and action items we are working towards. So I'll get in touch some of these during my future slides. So these are the strategies we employ at ICTA as capacity building. Now we activate certain things. For an example, with I think Mr. Jayalath is here and Mr. Gunadasa is here. And so we are working with multiple segments of the government and the industry to employ certain set of initiatives. We embark on initiatives because unless ICTA engage and initiate certain things, it won't initiate. For an example, like National Digital Education Policy, maybe National Skills Platform, National Skills Framework. So those type of initiatives. Then we mediate certain things. We mediate the relevant entities with relevant industries and relevant partner agencies to ensure we move in a swift pace. Now this is also a kind of a collaboration we made with the FITIS education chapter. And in certain cases we guide and consult, and we also advocate and represent the government of Sri Lanka on behalf of digital front capacity building. Also we encourage and help ideate. Like Sarvodaya Fusion and multiple NGOs are working with us. We help them, we assist them, we encourage them. We all know transformation is difficult, like education reforms. We all know how hard I think the education reform going on right now. So same applies with the education transformation in higher education sector and the vocational sector. So we are there to support and facilitate and encourage and help ideate. So there are certain set of initiatives we have been implementing. So I'll touch some of those in very brief. Now, before we get there, just to set up the background. Now, this is the statistics, actually, I think these known statistics. The last workforce survey we conducted in 2019, actually the data, it's latter part of 2018. So the supply was 9,076, whereas the industry demand was 21,000. So we had that deficit at that time.
Now, as Dr. Samarasinghe mentioned, now it may have, increased. The gap may be like more than this. Now we just actually ready to award the next contract to conduct the workforce survey. Hopefully, we are getting the new report done by end of August this year. So we'll get the detailed report on supply and demand on ICT industry during this year. So if we're getting into more details, so at that time, IT BPM workforce was 124,000. ICT workforce was 81,000, whereas we had BPM workforce 25,000. So total demand was 21,000, whereas we supply only 9,076. So the private universities, importantly, I think all of you, with your great efforts and contribution, at that time, we produced 5,934. So these numbers getting changed and evolved, but just to show you the context. So these are the graduate output by academic programs 2020 from the statistics from UGC. So you can see those columns, like the leftmost column, the art graduates, it's like almost 12,000. And you have management and commerce 4,000, science 3,000. You have like only 1,700 odd IT graduates are producing from state universities. So that's the ground reality. That's the real fact. So so how are we going to exploit this, and how are we going to make these numbers? This is not only a number game, but again, as our chairman also mentioned, now it's all about make sure the produced people are adequately competent to cater the industry demand. That's the challenge we are facing right now. As he stated during like a couple of weeks back, when we faced that situation with that the external investors, those who are willing to invest, and they are requesting 10,000 full stack developers and negotiated for 1,000, and we also, I mean, we can't cater that quality 1,000 full stack developers within like few months. So that's the challenge we are facing right now. So I think we, as the private sector education institutes, I think we really appreciate your all efforts. I think we can have open conversation to seek how we're going to move forward, how we're going to really produce these numbers with quality people. Then, so how are we going to address this? Now, that is the context. So I'll briefly tell you how ICTA look at this and how we're going to address this. What are the things we have already embarked? Now, first thing, we segmented all these, potential candidates. What we felt was the first most potential candidates would be the ICT graduates doing non-IT jobs. Do you believe there are thousands of non-IT graduates doing, IT graduates do non-IT jobs due to various reasons? There can be family commitments, there can be their personal, things, so, there are various reasons, but still, these folks would be the best people to be converted very quickly, or maybe having a refresher program. And if they are given with the required package and required facilities, maybe now they can work from home. It's not a geographical barrier anymore. So then this can be the first segment we can tap. There's a second segment, ICT graduates with no jobs. I don't know whether you believe it or not. There's a significant number we found, like ICT graduates without jobs. I mean, they do a lot of part-time stuff, but, and they don't have jobs, even they don't have, entrepreneurial stuff also they don't get into. So that's the second segment we can really focus to have a quick, push and get them into the industry. Thirdly, unemployed mid-career with IT experience. If we take military, if we take even the non-ICT industry, there are a lot of people, spending their quality time on some other areas after their like mid-career retirement. So, I mean, be realistic. We are facing this problem. Now people are moving from Sri Lanka to Philippines, Sri Lanka to Bangladesh. So we are losing that opportunity. That's why we are focusing to see whether we can pull them in through a refresher program. So this is the first segment we are targeting with our strategies. The second strategy, So we are focusing on graduates, degree with ICT as a subject. There's a segment like ICT as a subject in higher education sector also. There are a set of graduates, those who do ICT as a subject. So that's the second, that's the next segment. Then students with ICT diploma and advanced diploma. Again, we found that like NCC, HND, and there are multiple streams. I think that is mostly contributed from the IT private sector education industry. And they stop from there. Sometimes due to financial constraints, sometimes, there can be their personal things, but so they stop their things. Then student with NVQ ICT. I think Mr. Jayalath can correct, it was 20,300 per year. NVQ qualified, NVQ 4-5 qualified, 3-4-5 qualified youth going out from the vocational sector, 20,300. But they are mostly employed in like data entry operators. We conducted a survey with ICT Skills Council, Indika. So that was the major finding. They are employed in like secretariat work, So then A-level, O-level, ICT, GIT students. We have gone into that level. If you take HCL case, what they have done. So they are first level support. So what they have requested is something similar to this. So that is one of the areas we can touch, like with the A-level, O-level, ICT, GIT students. Then A-level university selected student. Then A-level, O-level school dropouts. Now, how are we going to address this? Now, you might be thinking these are only talks and, these are only like classifications and so on. We have already started working on this. We have already completed some of the boot camps on this. We already partnered with National Youth Council and we are going across the nation. So we are covering actually 10 boot camps within next 2.5 months, and we are going for 50 odd boot camps during the year. So that's the plan for us. Now I'm not going to touch boot camps here, but I'll elaborate it further during my next slides. But again, these are real potential avenues we can touch. For an example, we just had a discussion with Mr. Gunadasa a few days back, once we launched that CRC things, doctor. So how we can explore the possibility of having boot camps in 106 these CRCs. They have like 20 to 50 computers and these has nice facilities, trained resource pool, and everybody is on board. And we have a pool coming from the industry representing FITIS, SLASCOM, BCS, CSSL. So we have a pool of resources. We can funnel them in and we can do a significant amount of work within a quick time. So that's some of the practical approaches we are looking at. Then, as earlier mentioned, we also looked at a conversion program. Happy to say that now we are at the final stage of this. We are going to launch this on next month. We are working with 7 universities. This non-ICT graduate conversion program, as Dr. Samarasinghe correctly stated, again, it shouldn't be like reactive. Now this is reactive, correct? Now, I mean, after completion of, 4-year or 3-year arts degree, maybe after 5 years, the mindset is different and their, passion is different. So it will be a different story. But still, you can tap from maybe last year towards maybe fresh graduates going out from this art stream. You saw the numbers, right? So there's 12,000. Science 3,800, and commerce it's again like 3,000. So it's a big number. So this is the initiative we're going to embark very soon. Then very high level, these are some of the other interventions we have already started. Now first time in Sri Lanka, again I'm telling, first time in Sri Lanka, we have managed to complete the digital education policy, which cut across vocational, K-12, higher education and non-conventional for Sri Lanka, with the support of everybody actually sitting here, including the industry partners and the government stakeholders and other well-wishers, and development agencies. And National ICT Skills Framework and Skills Platform We are working on this. And so these are the main initiatives we are working on, focusing those segments what I have stated earlier. So I'll be very brief in my next slides. So if you have anything to discuss, we can discuss at the panel discussion, during the networking session. I'll touch few of these. So what is rapid conversion program for non-IT graduates? So these are the very high level objectives. Forgive me about it's a lot of text in the slide. I just wanted to show this. But it's the main purpose here is focusing, convert non-ICT graduates. We don't want to make maybe like a singer to maybe is that university to make him a software developer. Maybe how we going to apply that knowledge in the respective area. Maybe art and craft, whether he or she can become a UX and UI engineer. So that's the conversion we are talking about here. Not everybody to become programmers, system analysts and BAs. So this what we are planning with the non-IT graduate conversion program. Good thing is, everything what I am presenting here, those are no dreams or plans or pictures. These are realistic, these are really formulated and ready to be implemented, though already being implemented. So these are not plans, these are really real things what we have been implementing right now. Now this is another initiative what Chairman has showed earlier, the Light in Digital Boot Camps. Now we are partnering with all 4 associations. I should really acknowledge all the chairmen, the chairman BCS, chairman CSSL, chairman FITIS and chairman SLASCOM. And so we are working with National Youth Council. We go cut across the entire nation. We are going to conduct 170 youth boot camps within next 2.5 years. We cover 2 DSS per boot camp. So altogether we have 340 DSS. We are going to cover the entire nation with this. If you think this is not practical, I really would like to invite you to join one of our boot camps and see the enthusiasm and you guys are working with the youth better than us. You know about their potential and their interest. This is one of the things we are, try to get industry engaged and facilitate them to move forward. So I'm not going to read the slide. So you can see the objectives and what we do. Then I'll touch little bit here because this can be an interesting one. Now this is about National ICT Skills Framework and National ICT Skills Platform. Actually, it is National Skills Platform and National ICT Skills Framework. So if I say a use case without trying to explain the diagram, say somebody from the latter part, you can see the potential candidates. It can be anybody. It can be O-level dropout to university students, even somebody who is working in the industry. Just for, say, one example, say Vajira, he's coming from, say, Polonnaruwa. Say Vajira has vocational qualification NVQ 5. So maybe qualification from one of your, maybe private sector IT education institute or diploma. So he should be able to, once he logging into this skills platform, he should be able to understand which job he or she should be fit in. Say for an example, if it is UX design specialist, so these can be his or her competencies, desired competencies. Now, according to these competencies, there can be multiple accredited qualifications, courses, and programs he or she can follow. Those recommendations will come out. So this is the skills platform. Now, I'm happy to say, after like 9 months effort with the entire industry, SLASCOM, FITIS, BCS, CSSL, everybody engaged with this, including the academia from about 7 universities. So we managed to finalize the National ICT Skills Framework. So that purely based on globally accepted Sophia Skills Framework, plus we extracted certain pieces from the Singapore ICT Skills Framework and few other. It's a combination of the global recognized frameworks. So we are getting this Sophia framework also adopted in Sri Lanka, so that any institute, we are getting the country level license. So that any institute, once we get that license for ICTA as the national arm, any institute should be able to endorse your students with Sophia license, free of charge. So that's the model we are working on. So the entire nation, any institute, education institute or an industry organization, they don't have to pay anymore for that. So ICTA has already negotiated a very flat price with the Sophia Foundation on this. Those are some of the things. Since with the time constraint, I'll move on. So the education industry contribution. Now, this is the slide I just wanted to stop a bit and ask your help actually. As chairman stated, I mean, this is the forum we would like to discuss openly, and I mean, we are very open. We are here to listen, and we are here to get work in collaboration and get this thing achieved. So we have 3 programs. So in different ways and means you can contribute and connect with us by engaging with these programs. First thing, with enrollments. Now with BCS, I think BCS we have 5 institutes already partnered with boot camps, and they are offering scholarships and they are doing mentoring and so on. So hopefully it will get more and more with the BCS. Then accreditation. ICTA will also act as kind of an accreditation arm just to ensure we produce correct people to the industry. If I may ask, like Indika, if he has an IT education company, I take that example just to be careful. If Indika has an IT education institute, if he says he's producing 1,000 graduates, it's not about the number anymore. It's about the employability and competency. Are we producing correct people who could get into the ICT industry? For that piece, we'll be helping you out. We'll be assisting you out. We'll be in the middle and we'll be assisting you and guiding you through. You are producing correct people to the projected demand. So that's one of the roles we are going to play. Then recognition. So ICTA also will work in collaboration and hand in hand with the ICT education industry, the private sector industry, to support and get this thing really materialized. Then scholarships. I think the higher education ministry has embarked a very important initiative. I think our cluster team led by Nalin also engaged with that. Like for example, good to hear that last time I think it was like 1,000 odd numbers for ICT scholarship. Now this time it's like 5,000 odd scholarships have been awarded to Sri Lankan youth. Now it's a fantastic scholarship scheme. I think it's they target 15,000 each year. This year, out of 15,000, we have awarded more than 5,000 scholarships for ICT. So that's a significant achievement, I think, from the higher education industry. So these type of interventions will really make a real impact on our education transformation. But the important thing would be, we are producing correct people with correct competencies with correct curriculum. For that, again and again, I'm telling this. So we will be there, and we'll be working with like FITIS education chapters, LASCOM, multiple areas. We just had a MOU signed with BCS education, which is Asia. So we are partnering with like this, all the entities to ensure we are moving towards that line. And this education booth, actually, it's another concept, so we'll get into that. Maybe Aminda, if you can stand, Aminda. He's already standing and eating something. Yep, cool, good. Aminda, so Aminda is our senior manager. Actually, he's leading this education front from my team. So he's a friendly guy. So you can talk to him. He knows everything I explained here better than me. So actually, one of the most important thing here is for us to collaborate and discuss. So you can discuss any of these, even on personal note. So you can, just engage tomorrow onwards with some of these initiatives, because these are really being implemented right now. So, and consultation. ICTA would really facilitate and support you. Like we already give this consultation in certain areas whenever somebody requests in terms of education. Now, one final thing. Now, ICTA again would be a mediator, not the mediator, will be one of the mediators for IT education industry, because we have already now negotiated and discussions not underway. Actually, it was already now, it's being happening right now. We have continuous discussions with global giants. Large MNCs are coming to Sri Lanka and they are going to invest heavily on some of the areas. Say for an example, AWS Academy. I don't know, maybe some of you may have participated for our briefing meeting, Vajira, we had about 3 or 4 months back. Now we have now few institutes on board. They are providing 50,000 AIML scholarships, including the sandbox. Now 10,000 per student. So you can calculate the number. Now, as at yesterday, the Moderator University and 4 state universities are already using it. I think 6 private sector IT institutes already use it. Now, we have an arrangement on this, ICTA being the mediator, and we ensure our IT education industry is benefited with this. So this is one of the examples. Then Coursera, I think Chairman has mentioned. We came to a very very solid and very interesting negotiation with Coursera in terms of get them on board and provide and funnel some of their important courses which are really aligned with the demand. I mean, it's not about providing everything. So it's about providing relevant courses, relevant content, relevant curriculum. So those are the areas we're focusing on. And UiPath, I don't know whether you heard about this. UiPath is one of the companies working on this, robotic process automation, now robotic intelligence. So now it's evolved to intelligence now. So RPA, now they are willing to support us to go downstream to all universities and selected education providers, again with the scholarship scheme and some of their interventions to again upskill and get people capacitated on this. These are some of the examples, and Cisco Academy, and so there are many more. So in nutshell, the final slide. Now, just to show you, actually I would really appreciate at this point Mr. Gunadasa and Mr. Mr. Gunadasa and the Additional Secretary from the Ministry of Education, Mr. Hemant. Actually, they led this initiative. So the first time in Sri Lanka, education policy, digital education policy will go for public consultation on next week. So we have already drafted the digital education policy for Sri Lanka. So it took about 1 year, of course, but it was very well, consulted, documented. Most of the senior folks in the industry, academia, and different institutions were part of it. So it will go for the public consultation. Just wanted to show you some of the glimpse of this digital education policy. There are 20 policy objectives and multiple strategies on it. So hopefully we won't see regime by regime, different type of initiatives are happening to address same requirement. So it will be at least remain for hopefully for 5 years. Even actually policy objectives are focused on sustainable development goals also. So it will be aligned with 2030. So these are some of the glimpses of it. So again, I would like to invite all of you to contribute when it go for public consultation. Maybe if required, we can have a separate briefing session also for you to understand what's in it. So I think I took maybe 16 minutes. Thank you so much again for listening this. So again, I would like to extend our greatest gratitude to FITIS Education Chapter and the President of FITIS.
And we would like to invite all of you to join us with open conversation. Thank you so much.
Excuse me. Hari පටන්
ඕකේ 2020 ලෝකේ හොඳම ලැප්ටොප් මොඩල් එක හැටියට සම්මාන ගත්තේ මොකක්ද?
Simple නේ.
වැරදි. පොඩ්ඩක් ලේසි කරන්නද? බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එක Dell. මොකක්ද මොඩල් එක?
මන්ටක් ගාලා සිගයකට දුවලා ඉන්නද?
ඒ මොකටද?
Dell ගැන අහනවා නම් ඉතින් සිග තමයිනේ.
ලෝකේ හොඳම Dell ලැප්ටොප් වසර 3ක අසමසම වගකීමක් සහ අලවියෙන් පසු විශිෂ්ට සේවය සමග සිග වෙතින් ටික ටික ගෙවන්න ගන්න.
ලැප්ටොප් නම් Dell. Dell නම් සිග.
An office solution of unmatched convenience. Adaptable to any type or size of organization. A solution that grows as you grow. A solution so user-friendly that even a child could do it. An investment that will continue to grow with you, providing rich dividends. Solution that can answer global questions. A technological solution like no other. You've got to experience it to believe it. Oasis from LOLC Technologies. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your lives.
Welcome to Edith Cowan University Sri Lanka campus. My name is David Matthews and I'm the General Manager of ECU's campus in Colombo. Thank you for choosing Edith Cowan University. Students from around the world are welcome to study in Sri Lanka and graduate world ready. You are joining a modern Australian public university with a reputation for excellence in teaching quality and student experience. Edith Cowan University is proud to have achieved 14 straight years of 5-star teaching quality in the 2021 Good Universities Guide. Edith Cowan University has also been ranked in the world's top 100 universities in the 2020 Times Higher Education Young Universities rankings. Edith Cowan University Sri Lanka campus is designed to help students navigate and succeed globally, and we are guided by our values of integrity, respect, rational inquiry and personal excellence. I wish you every success in your journey at ECU Sri Lanka, and I look forward to welcoming you to our alumni network upon your graduation.
පෙරමගතනනා දැනුම සයුර තරණය කරමින් මෙතිනා තාක්ෂණයේ මෙහෙවර බලගන්වා රටට දැයට නවලොවක් විවර කරනා දසත පුරා නැව් දෙන්නේ සිව් දෙස දිදුලන නාමේ නවලොව නව අරුණෙල්ලයි
eSoft Metro Campus. Entrusting information technology across the nation for 20 years of excellence. eSoft Metro Campus.
Next, we have a very interesting panel discussion lined up, and I would like to first, while our staff get ready with the stage, I would like to introduce our panel for this evening. First, we have Mr. G.M.Niel Gunadasa, Additional Secretary to the State Ministry of Education Reforms, Mr. Sameera Jayawardena, Director Capacity Building of the ICTA, Dr. J.A.D.J. Jayalath, Deputy Director General of TVEC, Mr. Indika Zoysa, Vice President of FITIS, Ms. Vasana Edirisuriya, Director ICT Branch of the Ministry of Education, Dr. Kithsiri Manchanayakke, past chairman of the Federation of IT Industry. He is also representing the private sector educators. Ms. Harini Jayasinghe, Director, Non-State Higher Education of the Ministry of Education. Ms. Chandima Janaki, Director, Non-State Higher Education Student Loans of the Ministry of Education. I would like to invite these dignitaries to come on stage for the panel discussion. All right, so we have a very distinguished panel this evening. I would like to start off with a question. And if you have a question, please introduce yourself very clearly. And if you have the question to pose to anyone in the panel, please specifically mention that person, and then you can direct your question. Okay, we'll start off with Mr. Neil Gunadasa. He is the Additional Secretary to the State Ministry of Education Reforms. Mr. Gunadasa, if we would like to ask from you, what can we look forward to in terms of education reforms in the coming few months? What are the new plans that are in the pipeline in the next few months?
Thank you. In fact, Ministry of Education Reforms and Open Universities and Distance Learning Promotion, we have several number of activities in the pipeline. Mainly that we have recently launched all previously named this computer resource centers as IT and distance learning hubs. We have 106 centers, and recently last year we obtained the funds from the Treasury to repair and renovate the centers and equip the centers, and now all the centers are ready to provide the blended learning setup through the ICTA platform. And also, in addition to that, I just had a chat with Mrs. Sameera. So we are trying to provide this facility to the boot camp. Also, we have, because all the centers located throughout the island. So one in each zonal education office we have the center. So then there's a very good opportunity for whatever the organization, those who are willing to join to the, those who are willing to assist the students who are in the rural and remote area. So our hub is the proper place for you to come up and work with. In addition to that, I think you all know that we have a learning content management system called ICTA. That is a national platform now, and Cabinet has approved last year January, as a national platform, e-learning platform for Ministry of Education for the general education system. So now I should thank Mr. Oshada, because when he was at the DG in the TRC, we managed to get the whitelisted for this ICTA. And then not only that, we initially it was a LCMS, now it has the LMS and the video conferencing facility. So now these days we are working in the schools to prepare the schools. All schools we are trying to get as a virtual schools into this platform, and in future we will deliver the entire reforms curriculum to the platform, this ICTA platform. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have 106 centers in the island wide. So we want to prepare our teachers to deliver the. We want to prepare our teachers to assist the students for these reforms modules. So in that case, we have developed 6 modules, understanding to get this all teachers in the certain level that they can assist this digital education, digitalization, they will get the digital literacy to assist the students. So those 6 modules will be delivered to the centers. Initially, we will provide the training for these 215 schools that are selected for piloting process, and then thereafter we will train the entire teacher community through these 6 modules. Not only that, we have introduced 40 modules, 40 training modules to be delivered to these IT hubs. And also, I would like to, as Mr. Oshada mentioned, we would like to get your assistance to deliver, prepare the courses, and that can be delivered through this platform. And we have developed the online system with the LMS for this all IT and distance learning hubs, and then all centers can work together in the platform, and anybody, all the outsiders can see what type of courses that we are conducting, and even in the abroad we are at the moment we are discussing in the ICTA to integrate the payment gateway to this system, and then even in abroad anyone can follow these courses. So there are a lot of opportunities to work with us, and we will always happy to work with whatever the government and private sector organization to deliver the service. As Mr. Oshada and Mr. Dr. Prasad mentioned, that we also very clearly understood that there's a big vacuum of getting this IT knowledgeable people in near future. So those are the major areas, but there are a lot of things that we are doing now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gunadasa. Quite a few projects coming up in the pipeline. That's very interesting. Next, we have Dr. Janaki Jayalath, Deputy Director General of TVEC. Dr. Jayalath, we have quite a few members representing different IT education institutes here who are members of FITIS, and also a few non-members. So it's an interesting question. What are the objectives of TVEC, and what benefits can institutes expect from becoming a TVEC member?
Thank you for inviting me for this forum. And actually, the ICT skills education, if we concerned, what we propose is not to do the traditional ICT education, because we have seen traditional ICT education is a supply driven. But what we want is to demand driven system. That's why we have introduced the National Vocational Qualification System, where it comes from the industry. So industry develops the national competency standards, and accordingly we develop competency-based curriculums, and based on competency-based curriculums we develop trainer guide and learner guide and assessment resources. These are the training packages which consist of a qualification for ICT as well as maybe other areas. We have developed like maybe 20 odd qualifications in ICT area, which is focused for different occupations like graphic designer, network technician, hardware technician. But if you are doing some kind of basic ICT like office package, we no longer recommend that office package, because that is the basic skills that could be learned by hovering around the computer, or maybe some in schools. So we need to focus on highly skilled occupational skills for the ICT sector. And if you come to the TVEC qualification, first thing I must say, that is a legal requirement to be registered with TVEC if you are delivering any course in ICT vocational skills. And the second thing is, if you are going for accreditation, we could offer the National Vocational Qualification, that is a joint certificate that is in par with and mapped with the Sri Lanka qualification framework, and we mapped and benchmarked with various other international skills and various other countries' qualification framework with mutual recognition of qualifications. So there are a lot of opportunities opened if you follow the NVQs. That is the basic criteria for government and many private sector recruitments. And also, I need to tell, recently we have opened another avenue for the especially the kids and school children to have to learn the basic the Python programming and Java programming through the learning portal. That is that is a project driven by ICT Sector Council. There are no limits. Anybody can enter into the system, and there will be a portal, new portal, technocrats.edu.lk, and this program will be launched in next 5th of April, and anybody can come to this portal and learn the basic modules and do the online exams and go to the higher levels. So those who are competent enough will be awarded with the scholarships for Coursera and various other the certification system. It will be done by the VTA through the Commonwealth of Learning funding. And there's a lot of opportunities in this program to have and to get on board with necessary competencies in ICT education. Those are the plans right now we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jayalath. Next, we have a question for Ms. Vasana Edirisuriya, who's the Director, ICT branch of the Ministry of Education. Now, interesting question. Check one, sorry. We have an interesting question. Now, before we organize this event, we actually posed an open invitation for some of the institutes to send us some questions. So this was a very interesting question that we got. So Ms. Vasana, so FITIS members, they offer the highest standards in IT education and go through a stringent process before we actually get them on board as a member of FITIS. Can we make schools more accessible for FITIS education chapter members now that there is an MOU being signed with the ICTA?
I think, yes, I think, because when I consider about, when I talk about the education, ICT education sector, actually, when we look back the last decade, so I have taken some data from the already published data, the GC O-level and A-level results, how they have set for the ICT subject and pass rate. So when we consider about in 2010, O-level, we have nearly 35,000 students, they have sat for the O-level examination and only nearly 88% passed from ICT subject. And when we came for the 2020, the published O-level results, now 2021 we have not yet published, so we have nearly 64,000 students. And when we consider about A-level, in 2011, I think that's the first time we started, there are nearly 1,300 students, but now it's nearly 35,000. So these developments, they are not developed overnight. We had to work close with all the organization here, Higher Education Institute, Vocational Training Institute, ICTA, and those industries, FITIS, and other organizations. So we have worked close with these organization earlier as well. So we had, I think, last few years, unfortunately, due to this COVID situation, we didn't able to make arrangements to gather students physically, but before 2020, we had Infotel session with nearly 6,000 student participation with the support of FITIS. So we had the career guidance counselors, teachers, school leavers, and we had a lot of collaboration with FITIS. So there is, I don't think there will be a problem to support access to FITIS to students for the awareness, for the goodwill of students. There might not be a problem.
Right. Thank you so much. I think that's good news for our FITIS members and also non-FITIS members who want to become or who are aspiring to be members of FITIS. Okay, next we have Mr. Indika Zoysa, Vice Chairman of FITIS. So he's going to ask him a very pertinent question as well. Now I think even ICTA Chairman came up with some very important statistics, even Sameera gave some very important stats. This is a question. Most projects and courses start only when there is a need. Right now we are talking about blockchain, we are talking about, full stack, right? So most of these courses, most of these programs start only when there is an actual need. How can we set up a dialogue between the industry and private sector IT educators to ensure that these needs are identified 6 months or even 12 months beforehand. How can we do that, Indika?
So I will give a different approach to it. So Dr. Sedere is being a very senior academic. He very structurally explained what we need to be done on skill sets and how exactly the currently what we are harvesting or our education system is basically influencing and what we need. So I'm not sure anybody has seen, there was a study done a few years back by the McKinsey. It clearly indicates the generation which is in school or higher education, when they come to the job market, the job they are going to do is not there, or and it's not created yet. So, and the problem they are going to solve, we don't know what is the problem. So we need to make sure the generation which is in school or higher education sector, they have to be trained to get into a job which is not there, or solve a problem, we don't know what that problem is all about. So if you think back, getting into your question, we need to think ahead of the curve. And right now, when, as Oshada said, there was a requirement of 10,000 full stack developers, we are right now thinking, how do you create that 10,000? And he has committed 1,000, but we are thinking to how to create that 1,000. But if he knew this is the trend 1 year back or 2 years back, we would have had the 10,000 produced with this organization coming into our country. So this is where actually all of us as together, the policy bodies, the education institute, all that, we need to look at the trend lines. This is where I think the workforce survey ICT did, what is available, what they published in 2019, and the new one Sameera mentioned is going right now. And also the workforce survey or the survey what SLASCOM conducts. ICTA Skills Council conduct the workforce survey again. I mean, not the workforce survey, where the skill survey on it. So these trend lines as well as the globally available reports gives you this indication. So we need to actually take these indications and we need to prepare. If we start now, the products will be out or the results will be expected in 2 years down the line. So that's possibly we are maybe a little late on this right now. But as a team, we need to work together and identify what is needed in the next 5 years, next 10 years, what exactly the skill sets and what need to be done. Again, we can't wait for another 1 year or 2 years down the line. And also, when with the current situation we are faced with the currency, etc., as Oshada mentioned, in his speech also, ICTA will be one of the key. ICT will be one of the key things which is help us to come out of this. So from institutes who seated here as well as the entire education sector, what we can look at is, I think Sameera clearly indicated in his presentation, he gave the target audience. He clearly said, okay, these are the skills what is required and how we can do it together. So if we pick up this and look at from a business point of view as a training institute, how do you look at providing that 10,000 full stack developers? What we can do? You take the list of people who had done the arts graduation or somebody drop out who's doing something else, the list what Sameera produced. And can we do a top up 6 months full stack developer course? It can be blended online, whatever the mode you use it. And can we fulfill that requirement to give that 1,000 what is the ICTA or chairman already has committed, or can we do more? That I think what we need to think very short term right now, starting today. And then you need to think, okay, 1 year down the line, what is the skill sets, what is required? And 2 years down the line, planning, which is we need to come in on our planning cycles. So I'm also being privileged to work in, this is my second multinational, which is I'm working, both companies are possibly bigger than our economy from a, from a revenue point of view, or bigger than the Sri Lankan economy. When you look at all the trend lines these organizations follows and the recruitment processes, they really look for the skill set. Or even if you look at the statements of the top CEOs, they look for the skills. Not any longer the certificate or the diploma or the number of hours or credits you have. It's the skill set. So what we need to really look at is we need to produce the right skills, not the quantity anymore, right skills. And if you bring it to the market, it's immaterial of the qualification of the certificate you get, you will get hired. As an industry, it's very clearly indicated we are 50% less, 9,000 is the produce of non-state, state put together. That's graduates, 20,000 is a requirement. Definitely it would have widened in the last 3 years for sure. So industry is hungry, and if you make the people with the right skill sets, they'll be hired, guaranteed, right? There was one specific discussion we had, like Dr. Jayalath was also part of that. The institute was saying, can we guarantee a job for somebody after you go through? No, you can't guarantee, but the people with the right skill sets definitely will get hired because demand is so high in the market right now.
Thanks, very interesting facts. Next we have Ms. Harini Jayasinghe, who is the Director of the Ministry of Higher Education. Harini, just another interesting question that came up. Yes, thank you. Now, we understand that you have allowed UGC approval to only a limited number of private institutes offering locally developed programs, right? So the very pertinent question that kept on coming up during the discussions we had when organizing the session is, why don't you give the same recognition for institutes offering quality foreign degrees in Sri Lanka, as currently a significant amount of our money is going overseas. So I think it's one of the biggest problems we have right now. So why can't you offer the same recognition for institutes offering quality foreign degrees in Sri Lanka?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this panel discussion. According to the Section 25A of the Universities Act number 16 of 1978, we are operationalized that provisions. So there is, to our division, there is no mandate to recognize foreign degrees, foreign affiliated degrees, but we are working together to establish the accreditation council with the support of the Honorable Minister of Education to get the affiliated degrees to one umbrella. And so at the moment we haven't got the mandate for recognized foreign degrees, but the institutes that we have recognized under the Section 25A, we have 24 institutes, and they are conducting affiliated degrees comparing with the foreign universities, but to regulate those degrees at the moment we haven't got a mandate. I think
Right.
I'm clear.
So do you foresee that happening in the near future?
Yes, sir, we are looking, hopefully we are looking forward for that.
Right, so let's hope for the best, gentlemen. Okay, next we have Dr. Kithsiri Manchanayakke, who's a past chairman of FITIS, but today he is here representing the private IT sector educators. So Dr. Manchanayakke, we would like to ask you a question. What do you expect from the state sector to improve the standard of IT sector educators?
Thank you, Shahan. I would like to mention a few things here, and I would like to say Oshada and Sameera's comments also. I would give me a little time. First thing is, since I'm got involved in the education, ICT education for 3 decades ago, I mean, I'm not that old, but still, I started with basic COBOL, Pascal, Fortran, those with mainframes and all. So since then, these time frame, I have seen the changes of the industry, education system. In that, I have come across the government, in the government side, many regimes, different regimes, were trying to initiate many things. So I would like to mention one thing about Sameera's presentation and Oshada's presentation. They are very keen to that conversion program. That's a really good program. But this was initially in 1991. And again 1996 when the regime changes. So they gave a new name called Taruna Aruna. So get the non-IT graduates, mainly non-IT graduates, convert to IT graduates. But down the road, it's got failed. Don't know the reason. So again, 2001 started, 2005 they have started, 2010 they have started, and recently 2018 also started. But due to changes of regimes, it's due to changes of phases, ministers or whatever, it's getting changed. But I really like that we have come up with some sort of a policy that where you can't change it. So I would like to tell Sameera, just go back and see, do a little bit of homework, why it got failed. Since early 90s to now, conversion programs didn't get success at all. I don't know the reasons, but another reason I have seen the Taruna got failed due to we have trained some people, some non-IT graduates, but suddenly government announces that there are 40,000 teachers they are going to recruit. All the people we have converted, they go and join the government jobs. That attitude also there in the government sector. That also we have to change. When you are recruiting a person or when you are getting a person for this conversion program, we have to do a little bit of a attitude change also. And now, one thing I have listened because say Oshada was mentioning that we need full stack programmers of 10,000. We are getting very difficult to get 1,000 even, right? So now say Sameera's presentation, Sameera mentioned that all the government universities can produce only 1,700 graduates. So balance, I think probably our private sector people we are producing, right? Producing by the FITIS members and non-FITIS members, non-state government members, those are the people probably producing. But my point is, we are private sector, we are making profit. You can't say yes, private sector education institutes are making, otherwise they can run. So we have basically, we are trying to do mostly commercially viable programs. That means if the students, 100 students are coming for A, so we are trying to promote that more because we are getting more income to our institutes. But what I have to tell you is, Oshada, if you all have come up with some policy and ICT, so this is as Indika correctly mentioned, the next 2 years, we have to work towards in next 2 years, what is the trend is going to be, and let us know. Tell the private sector institute, we need this much of skill set by 2025. So then we can balance it while we are doing our commercially viable programs and what we require for the country for develop the industry. So that also we can do both things. So that is, we have to work very closely, ICT and the private sector education institute, we have to work very closely. We have to meet every 3 months or something and we have to discuss, have workshops and see, right, this is the skill set we need. How many numbers you can give Institute A, Institute B, Institute C. So likewise, if you can have some mutual understanding like that, I think we can then, because the thing is, advantage in the private sector education institutes are, we use basically all the industry people because most of our companies, we have a training arm as well as software development arm. So then our development guys can go and teach them. That advantage we have. So therefore, our students having, I'm not telling the government universities also they have that, but we have some sort of 80%. So all our industry people are the lecturers or the trainers. So that advantage we have. But still, I have to mention that most of our institute, they go for a commercially viable programs. Then that's why we said even the parents and the students and teachers, everybody we have to educate, tell parents or students, right, this is the current skill set you need. So tell your child, tell your father or mother or whoever, the consultant, to consult them and go and select the correct program also. So those are the areas I feel that we are lacking in the private sector education. So we have to work very closely more than this with the government, ICT. ICT we know, I know that Sameera is a go-getter. Sameera can do wonders because his team, I know him personally for the last few years, how he's working. So therefore, Sameera, first you have to understand the past experience, where we have got failed. So from there we have to get some sort of remedies and improve it. So that's what I have to say. Oshada, we would like to work, all the private sector we would like to work. So you have to set a target and you get the skill set you need for the next 5 years. We are ready to train them. Thank you.
Right, so thank you, Dr. Manchanayakke, so that we can move on to question to Sameera, because I think Dr. Manchanayakke was also directing some comments towards him. So Sameera, can you tell us what can the ICTA do to improve the private education sector? I think this came up during Dr. Manchanayake's comments as well. What can private institutes look forward to now that there's an ICTA MOU with FITIS?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody, Indika and Dr. Manchanayakke, for your comments. First of all, I think first thing what we can do is listen. So that's why we are here. So just to meet you all and so just realistically understand your expertise and your views, because I think the IT education, private sector industry is producing much more and they are producing big number to the industry. So I think that's why we also initiated this conversation with FITIS also. I think, so first thing is we are here to listen. So thank you so much for your input. Secondly, now from this point onward, as Dr. Manchanayakke mentioned, so we are planning to have a continuous dialogue with the IT education industry. So actually, I already committed to Vajira for the next dialogue. ICTA will be facilitating with the IT education industry. So we are going to have, as you realistically stated, so we were discussing about every 2 months. So maybe every 3 months or every 2 months, we're going to have this conversation going. In addition, with our interventions, what I have presented, now we have very clear stack of initiatives we are working with multiple stakeholders. And we are working with the Ministry of Education and Education Reforms. We are working with the vocational sector. We are working with the higher education. So we cut across all the areas. So, so all these initiatives are open to the IT education industry. We'll be the mediator. Like we just had a conversation. I mean, we heard from Mr. Gunadasa how the education reform really transformed even the thinking of Ministry of Education. Now how they open up the CRCs into kind of regional ICT hubs. So how that can be also consumed. So we'll be playing that mediator role also. And the thirdly, so we can directly engage with all the initiatives what we embarked. So you see we have 3 strategies we are employing. Like one thing is this bootcamp initiative, conversion program, and refresh initiative. So all 3 initiatives, so we would like to invite all of you to join us. And so as a consortia or individually we can work with them. In addition, all these multinational companies, and we'll be bringing in few more multinational entities. Actually, there are a few launches coming up. Not only launches, with some commitments, financial and non-financial commitments. So we also work in that sense to work with the IT education industry. But finally, I would like to mention the most important part, what Dr. Manchanayakke again mentioned, and Indika also very correctly mentioned. It's about being proactive, not reactive. So we really accept that fact. So at least now we should be proactive. So that's why we have started National ICT Skills Framework. It's a dynamic framework. It's not a static framework. So we have a continuous dialogue with the industry. For an example, nowadays we are finalizing the software stream from the trainee software engineer to maybe CTO to architect and the entire stack. So we do that with the industry representative, and we are going to have this conversation continuously going on. So with that, I also would like to introduce Upeka. Upeka, can you stand if you don't mind? So Upeka is the person if you wish to discuss about ICT skills framework and how it's a real applicable framework. It's not a theoretical framework. So so you can again start a dialogue and how we can really effectively consume that in your programs and your further developments in the education sector. Finally, again, I would like to add 2 things very briefly. One thing with the e-Taksalava platform, I think with whitelisting, I think
Just wanted to highlight that fact. I think Dr. Sedere, Mr. Gunadasa, I think they made a real transformation in the education industry, because now we have like almost 6 million hits per day. So it's file listing, it's free of charge across the board, data free. So that's the opportunity again the entire education sector also would get if we can chip into that also. Then same applies with, I think, the higher education learn also. Just to mention about it. Then again, thank you, Dr. Manchanayakke, for your kind thoughts and your piece of advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Sameera. So, for those who are not yet members of the FITIS Education and Training Chapter, I think that's another incentive to be a part of FITIS, because now you have the opportunity to contribute greatly towards the future generations as well. Okay, we have the last of our first round of questions. Audience, please do raise your hands after this next question if you have any questions for the panel. Right, so Ms. Chandima Janaki, Director, Ministry of Higher Education. So the question is, now we got to know that there's a fantastic initiative to provide loans to students, right? So the question is, why is that currently these loans are only provided to UGC approved courses? These are our own children we are talking about, right? And they are our own future generation. Why are we discriminating the students who are following quality courses offered by internationally accredited organizations?
Thank you. This is the first time non-state division engage with FITIS. And also, loan scheme is a great step towards overcoming high education challenges, I think so. This loan scheme is designed for a student who are unable to secure their seat at a state university, but also who have completed all the entry requirement for state universities, entry qualifications. That also we in our student loan scheme, we are closely monitoring those students and also their curriculum, their institute and all those things. Both our divisions, that non-state division and loan division, are work together. Then after non-state division accreditation, that program and institute, after that we are providing those loans for the institute. That why we are, after that we can monitoring and we can go to those institute and we can take all the details from the student. We can do those things from our non-state institute. But I think in our cabinet memorandum, they mention in there, it clearly mentioned, we have to get their attendance and their results for our database, and we have to monitor all the details. That's why we can't engage with that foreign degrees and foreign affiliated degrees.
Right, thank you so much for that clarification. So now we open the house for any audience questions. If you have any questions.
Actually, just for awareness, I am raising it, Harini, from your higher education side, because you see most of our degrees are getting outdated because of this accreditation process. Because accreditation takes long time for, I'm also talking about the non-state universities. Now, just as Sameera suggested that have refresher modules, we should have the facility given to the state universities as well as to the non-state universities to add most viable, marketable, demanding courses to the existing degrees. Now, if you, once you add one or two modules, we can upgrade the degree. But the rule in the UGC is that you have to submit a fresh application again to get it accredited, and it takes another 3 years by the time the requirement is gone. So it is such a slow process. Your act is 1972. I mean, I'm part of you, but you see but it is, I think, highly timely for you to change some of those clauses and open it up. Otherwise, we are still holding to this digital economy was not even seen in 1978. You see, I think I would like you to respond to that, or at least take this comment.
Reviewing process not take that much long time, sir. Actually, minimum within 7 months we can, 7 months may be long, but it takes time because the degree program, accreditation of a degree program is not a easy task, because the quality should be maintained. We have to check whether all the standards have been met. So it have to take some time. So I think minimum 7 months time, but not 2-3 months time. So I must say that. And actually the 1978 fact, you may aware than me that 78, though it is mentioned as 78, it is many times amended. The last amendment is in 1985. But the amending the Universities Act is not, I think, it must be a policy decision taken by the higher superior officials in many capacities, as UGC must intervene, like as Ministry of Education must intervene. So I think you can make a request to our non-state higher education, and after that we can take forward that to start it, implement it. So I think, is it answer your question? No?
So actually, I'll share. I was part of the SCACA for like roughly about 2 years. So the point is, like, this is the same voice I carry since I'm coming from the industry also. The turnaround time is like, they say, okay, 6 months you have to complete it, but it never happens. And they have the process they have. You have to have so many people in the committee, etc. Like, sometimes the people who can't find the people to come into one meeting, etc. takes time. And also, especially the private sector comes in, you have to come through that BOI process, etc. Like, there's another set of validation comes in. So in this SCACA, there's a BOI representative. Like, that documentation has to go through. So really, when you look at it, by the time, as Dr. Sedere, you said, maybe the timeline is 6 months. In reality, when it comes, maybe it crosses 1 year, 2 years. Sometimes even I've seen applications 3 years pass. So possibly, what we can look at, it's not the conventional way. I think you have to disrupt the system. Right? If we try to wait until the regulations change and all that, like, even we will miss that. But Osha said that even 1,000 we will miss. Right? So even if you can really top up things like, identify, and maybe you add a top up thing, let the degree continue, let the certificate come as it is. But the industry needs the skill set. If you put a layer on top of it, get the kids to do parallelly, or like, after that 6 months or whatever the time frame, using technology, blended or online, get the skill sets. With the degree coming in, I think industry will accept it. So I think we need to go out of the traditional curve and do that change. I think, as Kithsiri also said, that looking at that marketability and attracting more kids to the the non-state also, that will be a viable thing, which is you have this schema, industry will demand, and you will have more acceptance, and your ratings will go up from the industry as well. Possibly we need to look at that kind of approach till we get these regulations and the acts sorted out. Obviously, we know the process is longer, and we'll not able to convert less than, getting through that cabinet process, etc.
At least University Grant Commission is given recognition to foreign universities based on two things. One is it should be listed in Commonwealth book or the IAU book. Those are the two criteria, right? So suppose we conduct many, I think all our members are conduct many validation programs. Let's say I get University of East London, ICT program. It's a validation program done by ourselves. So that means University of London, I'm going to give an example, right? It can be any university. So that is somewhere the panel is recognized, endorse it, and everything is done by that particular place. So when we are conduct here, say suppose if you get that curriculum and put it to you all or to get recognition, you don't have to reinvent. So you can just go through that and pass it within probably a shorter time. So why don't we think about in that way rather than we are dragging? As I know that it's too long, because as Dr. Sedere correctly mentioned that it's 6 months is too long. I mean 3 months is my time. I mean within 3 months we should this thing. So any suggestions if you can get, all whatever the university UGC recognized universities, if they get some validation program from the foreign university, that syllabus or whatever that curriculum, if you forward to you any private university, I'm talking about the non-state university, sort of that time to them, I'm talking about that.
Thank you very much for your question, but I must admit that as I mentioned earlier, we haven't got a mandate to accreditate foreign degrees, and also I must answer Mr. Indika that the process, I think earlier the number of meetings, that the time that taken to recognition degree was so long because it was done by the number of meetings the review panel met, but now we have prescribed the time period as 2 months for the first review, and then the institute have to have 3 months to submit evidence of compliance. If they can submit evidence of compliance before 3 months, then the process can be expedited. So I must admit
Mrs.
that.
Jayasinghe, can I disturb you?
Yeah.
So if you believe that is correct, is there any way the FITIS and the team can do something?
Like what, sir?
Yeah, what the process we can do it, maybe with ICTA? Hold on.
So, Harini, again, we are not putting you against a wall here, right? I'll give you a small example. When you say 1978, that's older than me, number one. Number two, 7 months, as Dr. Manchanayakke said, technology evolves fast, right? We can't, by 7 months, the requirement would have been changing, right? By the time you have 7 months again taken, the industry, the educationalists and all that will take some time to ramp up the courses and get the resource personnel ready and all that. I'll tell you the impact on this today. Today we discussed, Dr. Prasad and all of us, 20,000 software engineers are minus for the industry to meet the demand every year. I'll give you a very simple impact analysis on this. We usually sell a software engineer per hour minimum at $30. So $30, right, into 160 hours that we bill usually in the industry. That's for 22 man days. Into 12 months, into that 20,000 software engineers we had, that's an additional $1.1 billion to the country. If we had that today, I'm just saying, we might have had gas, right? We might have had also the fuel. This is the impact, right? This is the impact I'm taking on to the ICT industry. We can deliver the solution, but we all have to work together, right? So, I mean, honestly, these are top end. Now, if we can get Amazon AWS Academy to come here and offer 50,000 scholarships, if they are good enough for that, do we mean to say that these international universities are substandard than Sri Lanka? So I rest my case here. I agree. We have to look at the quality, but we have to have a different mechanism. Because the impact, right now, the impact is in billions of dollars to Sri Lanka. Not only UGC again. What I'm saying is across the board.
I'm not representing the UGC, I'm representing the
That's fine, right? But again, vice versa, Dr. Manchanayakke, we have to look at the quality of education as well. I also see out of that 8,000 engineers coming in, some people are not meeting that. They can't even face an interview. So we need to look at the soft skills and so on and so forth. Again, so let's work together. This is my point. The impact is in billions. This is what I want to state. I rest my case here. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we can consider about all the considerations that raised here, concerns you have raised here. We can discuss with the superiors and the
I think the goal here is to take these key points.
No?
Yeah, because I think the goal here is to take these key points and work as a team to drive it. And if everybody is
ready for that.
Yeah, everybody is believing, we'll take it that way. Thank you for your views.
Point, like, what Prasad, that's right. Say with the skills ministry, which is we are doing an initiative what Dr. Jayalath mentioned, it will be out. So the key criteria what we are using here is this should be industry, not certified is the right word, industry recognized. So industry says these are the skill set what we need, and this is the quality what they need, right? The skill sets and the quality is the two key things, because no point having quantity unless you have the quality. So here what we looked at, like, as example, we are looking at even full stack developer or Python kind of coding. stuff. So now industry is saying, okay, these are the course module. Industry is helping you to put it together, and industry is giving the tutors or the people who deliver it, and then industry will basically take them as minimum as a trainee or intern. So this is the criteria what we are looking at. Possibly from a FITIS education or FITIS point of view, together with the higher education sector, the Ministry of Education, we can work together and we can come up with a framework. This is what industry is looking at. And it can, state and the non-state, both universities can basically deliver that. Possibly that's the next step. We can take it as output of this workshop to take it forward.
I would like to add something. As Sameera mentioned earlier, Minister of Education means all the other state ministries under the umbrella of the Ministry of Education. We developed with the support of ICTA digital education policy. Under that policy initiative, as Sameera mentions, it will go for the public consultation most probably by next week. There we have, as a team, we have mentioned about this aligning with the industry. All the degrees, vocational education programs, they should align with the industry requirement. And also, I think Sameera sometimes adds something for this. It suggested that all the academic people in those industries who are teaching ICT related subjects should get industry exposure at least once in every 3 years. So I think if we get this cabinet approved, sometimes we can have a hope to better development in that sector.
Thank you, Vasana, for highlighting that. I think, yes, the good thing is that policy enablement is already, now it happened, as she mentioned, that that enabling framework will be there. So I think we can't, maybe acts changing would be a long journey, but the action item, what Indika has mentioned, now the whole purpose of having this conversation today to have some key action items. Maybe 1, 2, 3 action items would be sufficient if it is very productive and impactful. So we as a team will work towards achieving that. So this can be one of the action items. So that also can be, again, as Vasana correctly mentioned, so we have even gone to that extent in the digital education policy. So I think the conducive environment would be there so that we can make a action plan to this and quickly with result oriented. So we'll work towards that, as Indika mentioned. So this can be one of the actions coming out from this conversation.
I am trying to help her because no, it's a government organization. It is not easy to do these things in overnight. So I suggest if you can set up a committee and prepare a cabinet paper, right, ICTA and all the organization, right, and then you can put the cabinet paper and then submit the cabinet, get some with some recommendations. So the ones directives. So once you get, otherwise we have to connect with all the set of entities, right? It is not easy to get that done, right? So I think best thing is if the ICTA and the Ministry of Higher Education can set up a committee and then identify the gap. And as Dr. mentioned, so we have to think what are the barriers. So then you need to find the solution through the government. So then that is how we have to go ahead. And the best thing is to get the committee and then identify the barriers and then find the solutions for that and get the cabinet approval. So then that goes to when you submit the cabinet paper, it goes to the respective organizations for the observations. So then easily we can get into all the respective bodies on board and then discuss this matter. Thank you.
All right. I have FITIS, actually, we have a 20 years old relationship in terms of working with the Young Computer Scientist program. It is a competition that FITIS and Ministry of Education jointly conducted to identify the talents, young talents across the schools, right? So Niels are now very much aware of this. My challenge is right now that I'm the president for software chapter. This is the software chapter who is actually working with the Ministry of Education and the UCSC also involved. We used to receive closer to 1,000 applications. Even during this pandemic last year also, we have received closer to 900 plus, out of which almost 500 plus they have submitted the applications, and we have almost like selected 200 plus good innovations, out of which we used to select the top 6 winners from different age categories, and we used to send them for EPICTA, which is Asia Pacific ICT Alliance, and 6 out of 6, 3 of them won the award as well. The point is, when we spend time, the quality becoming much more improved. So the 250 innovation mean, I'm not sure how it has been converted before, but we were trying to work with ICTA on the a certain capacity building program, how we can mentor them to take it to the next level. The real challenge that we are facing right now, we have access to almost all the schools through you all. And yeah, private, public both, right? And the international, government, non-government. And then we are ready to reach out to almost at least at the zonal level to, but the real challenge what you're facing was like the support from the teachers. We have 1,000 plus labs, Mahindodaya labs, plus another 2,000 plus IoT labs. That means we are not even receiving 1,000 applications, means there's a serious gap. I'm not saying that the students are not aware. If you really interact with those students, you will find amazing talent. It's not just centered across Colombo only. The 2019 winner from Anuradhapura, she won a merit award from EPICTA itself, 11-year-old small children. Likewise, previous year from Putlam. Likewise, talents are there all over. So how do we make this? Now, one of the challenges that what we identified was like for the drama and other competition, that you have a mandatory scheme that wherever that particular school has that facility, they have to send at least one student for the competition. That is the KPI for the teacher. How can we make it mandatory for this? Because this is, IT is becoming so essential and crucial. And also, this is something that I want to bring it up. And what all are the other things that we could do to improve? Because rather we don't want to just do it as a competition, frankly. But this is one way to interact. But as industry, right now we have a network where we can reach out to almost every single schools. We have almost 2,000 plus volunteers that we are tying up with various associations. We have 2,000 plus volunteers who can go to each and individual students and train them. But we don't have that much of students. Of course, the last 2 years due to COVID that we couldn't have. We have initiated the first session in Gaul and second session supposed to be in Karunaratne. So on the way that we had to come back due to COVID in 2020. So thereafter we couldn't do it. But we did the virtual awareness sessions and all that. We used to receive almost 1,000 plus registrations and all that. But how do we improve this? I mean, I would like to get your feedback where how we can improve, because this is 20 years old and I'm also receiving feedback. I mean, if you're going to continue as it is, there's no point continue, just drop it, unless you really make an impact. So we were trying to do all best possible ways, but if the quality is not coming up, then we have to take a call.
How to improve the participation of the competition. Even we had to meet this UCSC lecturers panel in the evaluation of the teacher competition. So there also we discuss about that, how we can do it. One we have, suppose as you mentioned, they said they also have set of volunteers, so they can go physically to the remote areas. We can arrange zonal level, provincial level, or school levels at the possible times to awareness session. We have sent in the flyers and published in the web, send in posters, but still we think we should aware them much. And the next thing, you also can add some initiatives, we can try those things. And we discussed that if we can give these students some sort of much recognition. Recognition means not the award or something. If they develop some sort of system, why can't we use that system if they create some system as a solution to the existing problem? If we can support them, if the industry people can support them to implement that,
if they have developed app, if they can support to include those app as a mobile app, or else use one of your companies or use one of our institute. So we are thinking of that, providing some sort of innovative platforms, some sort of research and development set of platform under ICT. So actually our secretary to the Ministry of Education also very interested about research, and Dr. Sedere also good researcher. So we have lot of academia in our higher level people. So we thought of whether we can give them a recognition once the competition finishes. We are not just forgetting them, to at least we can look after them for a certain times. Sometimes we can come up with some sort of entrepreneurs from them. Definitely, we have seen lot of talents from the students. Not only this competition, there are certain competition conducted by some universities and some other industries. We have seen lot of talented people. There may be some students, they have not time or not able to take part, but they have skills. So if we can give them some opportunity to present their innovatives in some other exhibition or even a television program or in a research platform, so I think that will be encourage other students to take part. So we are working on that. I think most probably we might have a meeting with you. This year the competition, we were asked to start after the April because new academic year starting after the April, so we didn't start advertising that, but we have worked on it as a branch, and most probably very near future, we will have a meeting with you to popularize this. Okay, you can add some more ideas. This is what we were discussed with the ICT branch officers and their ideas.
Very nice ecosystem to work with. Actually, we embarked an initiative with the Ministry of Education on school ICT clubs. So I think we have 800 of them right now. I think, Vasana, maybe strengthening ICT school ICT clubs would be one of the windows, so you can funnel it through to the student population and vice versa. So I think that is one of the other strategies you can tackle.
Thank you. We have time for one more question from the audience. If someone could indicate, raise your hand, and then you can
I have a
pose
mic,
question.
Shah.
Yes,
Thanks.
okay, sorry.
My name is Zulfa. I'm from the FITIS digital chapter. So my question, I probably pointed at Sameera here. Sameera, do we know how many, what's the first choice for a degree in our country when someone finishes local A-levels? Do we know that? Because when I looked at your chart, I was trying to understand that tilted towards arts because of capacity issues, or is it just that people like to do arts, And one other thing I wanted to sort of comment on that, is that I don't know whether we've done well in marketing the IT profession to the outskirts, even in sometimes by even talking about the salaries they get, because IT professions in this country, the way I've seen it is we get the higher salaries, right? Way above $10,000 and sometimes even $20,000 per annum. So I think that's something we probably need to market well. The other most important thing I thought we should sort of highlight is that we are obviously in the phase of we call it the phase of resignation, and in Sri Lanka it's even more because of the rupee devaluation. Obviously from last week on, a lot of Sri Lankans IT professionals are looking for jobs overseas, or either they are looking for jobs that are dollar pegged. So this is going to be an issue, and I think capacity is going to be a bigger problem for the local companies in Sri Lanka. And I think I think for the state institutions here, I just want to remind that this problem is going to be a bigger problem as we go along, and I think the local companies will need a lot more resources to meet the future capacity in the country.
Thank you so much. I think so. You're spot on
on the first thing. I think it's about the mindset. I'll tell you a story very brief. Like one guy who worked for one of these multinational companies, like earning say 7 million per month. He visited his school and met his, I think, principal or a teacher, and she was asking him, "What a bio yanda madhunani lakulu picture." So that's their perception. So that's, I mean, look at the thinking. Like, I mean, even the teachers, they don't understand, they don't realize the potential of this, ICT industry. So that's not their problem, their fault. I mean, we do have to accept that fact, and we have to employ certain strategies. So actually, we didn't touch that part today, but we are also planning to work with the Ministry of Education with the UNICEF on go downstream and make this ecosystem. Teachers and everybody should understand the potential of ICT, as you correctly mentioned. So if we take like these parents, what's their first choice for their children? I mean, it's doctor, teacher, or even if it is a girl. Now we discussed about this matter during last week. Now we have 34% women represented in ICT industry right now. So we are trying to make it at least up to 48%. It's a huge challenge, but to enable that, parents, their mothers and fathers, they should understand now this is a good job, good profession for their children. So we are planning to have kind of a campaign and go downstream initiative. We have multiple strategies. I mean, it's an interesting area to talk, an interesting area definitely to work with. Like we are employing some of the initiatives with the industry, like back to roots, with industry associations and so on. But eventually, we also maybe can do a bit of marketing. I know you may have already do this, but as education, IT education industry, you have a stake. I mean, if you can tap into these schools and all this entire ecosystem, that is one of the areas we can pitch. The quality of the professionals in ICT industry and what are the benefits and the ecosystem, so those areas, definitely true. So now, if we say even like this morning also, we were having this conversation, like it's not that art graduates problem. I mean, now that guy has selected art stream and get into this university system and get out from the university system. But why did they pick that in the first place? So so that we have to rectify. That has to come from the education reforms, doctor. And I think that conducive environment, that they should be able to understand how to value the professions and their future job market. So hopefully that will also come, because we also have a very close collaboration and arrangement with the Ministry of Education Reforms and Education. So that's the second point. I think third point you mentioned, yes, we do agree. There's a brain drain. We have to accept that fact. I think that is one of the areas as a government we have to work on at policy level. Maybe ICT industry should be considered like doctors. So there are professions we treat like that. Like maybe some benefits, some packages. And we should understand ICT industry will bring the revenue to the nation to survive this nation for maybe next decade. So our policy level intervention has to be made. Maybe I would like to pass that question to our chairman.
Sulfa, I think I have few concerns. I mean, if the private sector, the education sector team can join with the Ministry of Education, because we have 100 zones in the country, 100 education zones. If you can take one zone by one company or one set of people, so then you can make aware the students in that area. Because the important part is going to meet the people. So I can remember about, I think Vajira in 2010 or something like that. We did with the SLASCOM Mano team, we did the IT BPO awareness throughout the country. So we went to Jaffna, Betiklo, we met all students. At that time, even a lot of people, teachers, students, they don't know about the IT BPO. But we managed to get the students from that side. Most of the schools are just after their O-level for IT BPO. So likewise, making awareness is very important. But answering your question also same. So we all work together for ICT championship competition. So that your competition also that includes that in the overall umbrella. So without going one by individually, best thing is to work with hand in hand with the Ministry of Education and meet the people in the zonal level. So then only you can reach the people. So best thing is that I think it is very important to reach the students, and mainly there should be a proper time, because if you meet the students just after O level, there is one time, there is one point, and also before selecting the subjects for the O levels, there is another time. So that is the proper time that you need to touch the students, right? So these two places, if you can touch the students, make aware the students, then you can get the proper segment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in the interest...
talking about the students' loan but private institutions you don't give, but non-state universities you are giving some student loans. But can you, to start with, we don't want loans for each and every course. If courses where ICTA or whoever who think that prioritize whether we can get foreign money to Sri Lanka, I will say something in ICT, or we'll say network technology, something like that. So those specific courses, if you can consider to give us a loan scheme for those particular courses who recommended by ICTA or whatever the industry currently needed, that sort of thing, at least if you can implement, it's good for the sector. If you can, I don't know your mandate will allow that, but it's a special permission if you can get through ICTA.
All our institute who done affiliated degrees asking for that favor. In our division, we already recommended to Treasury that part and asked them to initiate something for affiliated degrees. Because all the children are our Sri Lankan students, that we want to help them, and it's good for our workforce and also our future of Sri Lanka. We already recommended to Treasury for that.
To make things easy, we don't, we don't ask for loans for specific programs which are recommended by ICTA or what industry needed currently. That sort of, to get the permission for that sort of thing, probably ICTA also can help, and other government institution can help talk to the Treasury or wherever the authorities, and can do it quickly. But otherwise, if you ask for the loan for each and every courses recommended by our members, so they recommended always the commercially viable programs, including me, right? But if you can get specific program where they're required for the country, so that will be probably easy.
We included only market demanded programs for the loan scheme. Not we haven't any BA programs in our loan scheme like that way.
All right, so thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen of the panel, for it was very engaging and very interactive discussion as well. A lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts have been put out. So this discussion does not end here, right? There is plenty of networking opportunities after the official program is done. So please do hang around. If you have any questions, please feel free to talk to any of these ladies and gentlemen on stage, or anyone in front as well with your ideas. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You may step down from the stage. Some of the dignitaries and some of our speakers and panelists that were present here. So to do that, I would like to cordially invite Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, Chairman of the Federation of IT Industry, Mr. Vajira Karunaratne, President of Education and Training Chapter, as well as Mr. Amila Bandara, Vice President of the FITIS Education Training Chapter. Okay, we have a Appreciation Award to Dr. Upali Sedere, Honorable State Secretary. Ms. W.H.M.C.K. Jayawardena, Additional Secretary. Mr. Sameera, Dr.Kithsiri Manchanayakke, past chairman, FITIS. Mr. Indika Zoysa, vice chairman, FITIS. Ms. Vasana Edirisuriya, Director, ICT Branch, Ministry of Education. Ms. Harini Jayasinghe, Director, Non-State Higher Education Division. Ms. Chandima Janaki, Director, Non-State Higher Education Division. We would like to invite Dr. Kithsiri Manchanayakke once again to come forward. Dr. Manchanayakke. We have an appreciation gift to our chairman, Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe as well. We would like to invite Mr. S.B. Romesh, immediate past president of the FITIS Education Training Chapter as well, to come forward for the next appreciation award to be given out to our president of the Education and Training Chapter, Mr. Vajira Karunaratne. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. To propose the vote of thanks, I would like to now invite Mr. Christy Samuel.
Every good thing comes to an end, and so this inauguration of an education forum of FITIS as well. We heard excellent speeches, presentations, and wonderful insights, and the panel discussion to think and act upon. G.K. Chesterton said once, "Thanks are the highest form of thought, and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder." Yes, it's time to thank the ones who made this event successful. Let me start with sincere thanks to Dr. Upali Sedere, State Secretary to Ministry of Education Reforms. Thanks for talking about the limitations of current education system and the importance of cognitive development of the children. Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, Chairman FITIS, thanks for speaking about the needs on conversion of students and the pragmatic situation for students' infrastructure. Mr. Oshada Senanayake, Chairman of ICTA, thanks for discussing the ground realities with a pinch of salt and how this forum can act as a pivotal role going forward. And Sameera Jayawardena, Director, Capacity Building ICTA, Your presentation on demand and supply of ICT graduates helped us to think forward. The planned strategies and opportunities added flavor to it. And panelists, problems need solutions to solve. And for our questions, your responses were not just answers. Some of them were real solutions, encouraging to us, and also created some action items for us to act upon. Thank you to each one of you for your valuable time. Mr. Neil Gunadasa, Additional Secretary, State Ministry of Educational Reforms, Open Universities and Distance Learning Programs. Dr. Janaki Jayalath, Deputy Director General to TVEC. Ms. Chandima Janaki, Director, Ministry of Higher Education. Ms. Vasana Edirisuriya, Director, ICT Branch, Ministry of Education. Ms. Harini Jayasinghe, Ministry of Higher Education, Non-State. Mr. Indika Zoysa, Vice Chairman FITIS, and Dr.Kithsiri Manchanayakke, Past Chairman FITIS. My word of thanks also goes to Mr. Shahan Kumar, the moderator of the panel, who have done a wonderful job by balancing the time, the queries, and the priorities. It's a great moment for the Education and Training chapter of FITIS for inaugurating this education forum, apart from several other initiatives that chapter has and have been done forward. And I would like to place in records that this whole forum was the idea of Mr. Vajira Karunaratne, the President of Education Training Chapter. As members of Education and Training Chapter, and on behalf of all the participants here, I sincerely thank you, Mr. Vajira Karunaratne, for making this idea into a reality. And participants, without you, this event would not have been interesting. Your participation and involvement amidst all our difficulties made this event successful and fruitful. Thanks to you all. And the executive committee members of FITIS Education Chapter, who are behind the scenes in planning this event and executing it, the FITIS Secretariat, the hotel staff, and the media personnel, my thanks to you all. I'm sure this would be a memorable evening to all of you. Thank you once again and good night.
Thank you very much, Christy. Before we go, I would like to just say one more thing. I would like to recognize my staff at the Secretariat, without whom this event would not have been possible. Please give them a good round of applause. Shalinda, Aman, Charissa, Asha, Titira, and Zuhara. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate all your hard work. Okay, so the night is still young. Dinner is served. Drinks are served. Right. So please do enjoy. Please do network. We'll hope to see you again soon. Take care. God bless you all.